Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Episode 370. We are getting up there. Today's episode is with Greg Lapin. How to best describe Greg? Let's say law enforcement background. That could be the pin in the ground where we start. That branches out into a variety of other things, from government contracting, starting in law enforcement, leaving law enforcement, coming back, starting as a police officer, then working his way into a sheriff, time overseas, working with other government agencies, working with foreign entities as well, teaching their soldiers and forces as well, coming back to the United States, probably most recently recognizable as his role at Fieldcraft Survival. They have a gym, a jiu-jitsu gym in their headquarters down in Provo, which he is the head instructor of. So in addition to all those things, very high-level black belt jiu-jitsu instructor. And I think my favorite thing about Greg is that he is just brass tacks honest. He talks about his experiences openly and honestly, and I don't want to give a spoiler alert, but I am, going to warn some people here. We opened up talking about what could be considered a relatively dark subject matter, personal struggles, the highs and lows of life, and I don't even know necessarily how it came up, but talked a little bit in the beginning about the lows, and we came back to it, and again, like I said, he talks about his experiences at a brass tacks honest level. And that can be hard for people to hear or listen to, but I think it's incredibly empowering, not only to the person, but it's powerful for the listener too. And I hope that the listeners understand, among listening to Greg talk about his experience and his background, that you're not alone. And I'm sure he would want that message and sentiment sent out into the world as well. Now, on that note, before we get into it, please join me in this journey for the next 60 to 90 seconds where I pay the bills. Please join me and allow me to talk to you about the sponsor for today's episode that allows me to provide this podcast for free. This episode is brought to you by Montana Knife Company. If you've been a fan of the podcast, you probably have heard me sit down with Josh Smith, who is the founder of Montana Knife Company. One of the best to ever do it. He is one of the most experienced master bladesmiths in the world, and I think he was the youngest master bladesmith in the world. Montana Knife Company, I love it. The roots are in Montana, but don't worry, it's a global brand. It's just born and raised in Montana, made in America, manufactured locally, literally 120 miles from where I'm sitting right now. And when I first met Josh, they were earlier in the journey. And recently they broke into their tactical line. And I have two of these knives sitting in front of me right here. This is the War Goat. Now, this particular one, you probably can't see. It has the Cleared Hot logo on there. And I'm going to start giving these away to the guests. This right here, also in their tactical series, is this dagger. This thing is savage. And on that note, all of these knives are ridiculously sharp. If you get one of these things, please be careful. They come out of the box ready to shave hair off of your arm. So these are two examples of their tactical series. They do drops on Thursdays traditionally, but they're going to start adding Saturdays. They're really, really hard to get. Their inventory goes fast because demand is outstripping their ability to produce. But the brand gets it. I mean, even they've upgraded the box that these things come in. I love the colorway, by the way that it opens and presents itself. It actually reminds me a lot of Apple in the way they present their products. Neither here nor there. I'm just saying they're doing a great job evolving on that front. And all I ask is this. If you buy something from their website, at the tail end of that, they're going to ask you what led you to Montana Knife Company. And you're probably going to either see my name or the Cleared Hot podcast. Do me a favor. Click on the Cleared Hot podcast or my name. And that's it. Do your best. Get ready. Practice run through your checkout, because I've actually had things taken out of my cart because so many people were online. But if you want a high-quality blade that you can pass down for generations, MontanaKnifeCompany.com. Now let's get into the episode.
Okay, got the red smoke. Gun run, north or south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke. Okay, copy, west of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now. Come on with it, baby, give it to me, I need it. Get cleared hot. Copy, cleared hot.
Where do we even start? Because I know we've talked offline about a substantial amount of shit to cover, but where do you want to begin?
I think you're not doing a good job, because I went to at least 100 people last night while I was in Kalispell going, don't know if you know this, but I'm going on Andy Stump's podcast, Cleared Hot. He's a Navy SEAL, and like, who the fuck's Andy Stump? I'm like, he's a SEAL.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy that wakes up at 4:30. I said, no, that's Jocko. Oh, the guy who runs a lot. No, that's Goggins. So you're not doing a good job.
I am completely, utterly happy and comfortable with nobody knowing who I am.
Yeah. No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who I am either, which is cool.
I know the people. I don't know Goggins well. We've crossed paths one or two times. I know Jocko, and I've been out in public with Jocko. And I actually was out one time in public with Jocko and Joe. And we were at an archery shop in San Diego, performance archery in San Diego, where I got my first bow. And Dudley was putting on. This was the weekend we were doing. Oh God, this was a good weekend. This is the weekend that Dudley broke his neck doing jiu-jitsu. By that I mean Jocko broke his neck.
Oh.
He was doing an intro to jiu-jitsu and left out how you end a roll, or the tap aspect of it.
Yeah.
He assumed that. Well, John watches UFC, so he knows what to do.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
That's a later part of the story, though. So we were doing this weekend where I was teaching John how to skydive. John was teaching, not that Dudley. Let me see. Dudley was teaching the archery. Jocko was very new into archery. Joe was not. And then we went to Jocko's gym and did some jiu-jitsu. So it was pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
We had three people. I mean, Jocko was obviously the jiu-jitsu specialist. Dudley was the archery guy and skydiving. So got Dudley through his AFF course. He was able to jump on his own. It's a large man.
Nice.
Through the air. Large man.
Did you tandem him first, or did he do
You don't have
AFF
to
right
do
out
that.
the gate?
A lot of people.
I did AFF.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't do tandem. I did AFF.
Some drop zones will force you to do a tandem as part of the AFF
And I heard
program.
now they're doing that. Is that a thing now? Is that an F? So
I'm out of it.
Okay.
But so we're at performance archery. Jocko is there. He draws a crowd in and of himself.
Yeah.
Joe shows up.
Oh my God.
And
I can only imagine.
the room was, I'm going to say, maybe 6 times the square footage of this room. And it took him 15 minutes to get from the door to the other side of the room. I can't fathom what that would be like. I don't want to ever be in that place. I deeply appreciate being able to just have my own personal space and time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The other thing, too, is like, at least with me, like at the party at Dave Ramsey's that we were at, the Tucker Carlson
What are
thing.
your thoughts on that party? The Alp party.
The Alp party. Yeah, it was the Alp pouch launch party.
Yeah.
It's not my scene.
Yeah.
It's not my scene. I was going there because I was asked to go there as a representative and talk to Tucker for some joint branding and marketing.
Were you ever able to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Tucker and I chatted. He's actually texted me. He loves Lily.
Okay.
So, like, he and our actual Lily's the star. She gets me in anywhere,
Javelin's kind of that way, too.
Yeah.
We keep telling Michael to take him on walks just
We
to
can
find
find dudes.
or women. It's a fluid situation. Neither Leah and I are completely sure, but we also don't care.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
Live your life.
It's 2025 now.
Totally. I'll get you a pair of wings if you want it, a cape, whatever it is you want. But dude, that dog, I mean, he watches Javelin for us.
Yeah.
Do you ever take him anywhere?
Yeah, I took him to my parents.
Oh, that's not what he meant, dude. Go down to like the mercantile steaks.
Do you see what I have to deal with? Did you take
took him to
here?
my mom
Yeah,
and dad.
totally. Yeah, I went and hung out with my mom. Right before I asked you that question, we were talking about finding you a girlfriend or boyfriend. And I asked you if you've taken him anywhere, and you say to your moms, you're not helping me. Walk that dog down Main Street, and people will be stopping you.
Yes.
Like, I get
100%.
it. Lily's the best.
Yeah, and Lily's the same way. So,
Yeah.
I went out of obligation. I would never have chosen to go. She's right here itching and scratching her collar. But it's not my scene. I don't like schmoozing. For me, I don't care how famous you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care that you have a hit record or that you're a famous race car driver. I care if you're a good person. Are you a good human? Are you a cool person? So I'm going in and people are coming up to me with Lily. And when someone comes up to me like a normal human, I put my hand out and say, "Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Lapin. Nice to meet you." "Oh yeah, cool. Your dog's." I'm like, "And you are?" And literally that happened like a half a dozen times at least. And like, "Oh well, I'm so and so. I run this band." I'm like, "Sorry, dude, I don't know who you are."
Yeah.
"Oh well, I'm this." I'm like, "Sorry, dude, I don't know who you are." Like, I don't watch TV. I don't.
Isn't it weird when people will add what they do with their name in just a casual interaction?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Hey, I'm Andy. Nice to meet you. I'm not going to follow up with, here's my professional
That's
bona
it.
fides.
Yeah. No, it's the same thing.
It's
It's like,
interesting when they come back the other direction. This is who I am, but this is also what I do.
right. Well, they're so stuck on that identity where I think, a friend of mine asked me like a hard question. I'd say a hard question, but he's like, "Are you comfortable in your skin now?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Are you really, like, for real?" And we started deep diving and talking about it. And I can go back maybe even only 6 years. And I think my answer now, knowing what I know now, my answer would be no, I'm not. Because
In the moment now you're not?
No, I am now, but
You
even
were
6 years ago, I
Yeah.
wasn't. And sure, 6 years ago, I thought I was. But 6 years ago, I kind of almost, and I never introduce myself and go, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Greg Lapin. Yeah, I own a jiu-jitsu academy. I'm a black belt, blah, 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 blah." Like, whatever. I don't care. Nobody cares. But I'd say 6 years ago, I was always trying to validate my bona fides, validate my purpose, where now I'm like, this is who I am. This is what I do.
What do you think changed that?
Maturity, depression, being suicidal, almost killing yourself, coming back from
In what order
it.
did that happen? Yeah.
Do you
Do you want to go alphabetically through that?
falling
or
off the rails pretty hard, living
How
in my
close-
jiu-jitsu academy for 10 months,
How close did you get to actually ending it?
gun in my mouth and phone ringing, which stopped me.
Who was on the other end of the phone?
A very, very close friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get to that point?
Whew, man, it was tricky. So I'd come back. I was working as a mentor advisor in the United Arab Emirates for their
What does that
counterterrorism.
even mean? I feel that it means one of two things. You were laundering money,
Yes.
or you were their chai boy.
Both. Both, actually.
Michael, now's a
Both.
good time to look up chai boy.
Yes.
Do me a favor, please log out of any account
Yes.
associated with my
Go to
name.
the dark web. Yeah.
And log in under your account.
Andy Stumpf, what is a chai boy?
It doesn't matter. They got me at this point.
Yeah,
They
you're
got
in
us
trouble.
all.
So no, I was over there working by, with, and through the Emirati counterterrorism special operations guys.
Emirati counterterrorism special operations guys. Okay.
For their Royal Guard,
Okay.
and building best practices, building training protocols, and not having them shoot balloons off each other's heads.
What is wrong with that?
I mean, I thought it was awesome. I said you should put chai tea glasses
That's
on top
very
of heads
James Bond.
instead, right?
The whiskey shot on
For
the top of
sure,
the head,
exactly. I was like, well, guys, we do apples in the U.S.,
Yeah.
but
And if you're really good, you'll shoot an ex-president right in the ear.
exactly, yeah, exactly,
Because it's an insider job. Just kidding, everybody. That's a question.
Don't even start with that, because now we got the Tesla Cybertruck bombing, who
just
was
did.
a Green Beret.
So I just did an episode on that yesterday, and I actually opened it by time capsuling it.
Yeah.
Listen, this is what I know now. This is the 2nd of January. This is what has come out. I had heard he was in the military. It came out after that he
Right.
was a Green Beret. And it's interesting. I've heard people say it's impossible that he was actually a Green Beret or a real Green Beret because there's no way that they could become radicalized. And I'm like, guys and gals, it's just people.
Yeah.
It's just
That's right.
people
Humans.
who are susceptible, maybe less susceptible than your average cohort if you were to poll 100 people.
Right.
But if you spend enough time around the right influence, or you have a combination or culmination of life events, which don't think for a second you're not telling the story of how you ended up with a pistol in your mouth.
Yeah.
But a culmination of events that drives you to something like that, I mean, it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
And then I'm here, it's ISIS has infected, it's in the United States military. I'm like, maybe ideologically
There might be people who carry
Yeah.
that ideology inside the military,
Yeah.
but
The way
ISIS has not infected our military.
No, and I don't know to what degree. I do believe they are in the U.S., but I don't know what degree. I broke it down more like a business structure. Like the first time I heard the term ISIS or ISIL, I think it went Taliban, Al Qaeda, ISIS, ISIL. That was kind of the trajectory. Even though the Taliban, I'm going to strip out of that. They're like a gang organization in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
But Al Qaeda, ISIS, ISIL, I would say in a business model, those are the full-time players. If you're aligned with that, they're the C-suite. Everybody else is kind of a foot soldier.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any of the C-suite people in the U.S. military, but it is possible that people have been radicalized to the foot soldier level. I wouldn't be shocked though if we had some C-suite players in the U.S.
Oh, I would say
I'd be surprised if we
didn't.
didn't.
If we didn't, yeah, I'd be surprised if we didn't. So, I never went to Afghanistan. All my time was based out of Iraq, based out of Baghdad. When I was working initially for the State Department, and then for the NSA. What years were you in Baghdad?
Off and on between 2002 and the middle of 2005.
Okay.
Sorry, 2003, because the war didn't kick off until 2003.
Okay. Don't steal valor, dude.
I wasn't trying to. We have plenty of friends that can do that for us.
So I was there later. I got there later than you. I didn't get to Baghdad until 2006.
Okay.
But some of the stuff we were collecting, because I was on the SIGINT, you know the deal, right? Some of the stuff we were collecting back in 2006 was pushing homeland attacks, and we collected intel that after obviously talking to the analysts, all that stuff, over 40 schools, blueprints, plans for schools in the U.S. all to get hit same day, Beslin style. So nothing elaborate.
I don't think they have the complexity to be able to do that.
Maybe not then.
I bet they would want to.
Yeah.
It's I don't know, man.
I'm concerned they do now. I'm concerned they have the personnel and the network.
How would they command and control that, though? I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just trying to reverse engineer this.
Yeah, it is a massive command and control issue, especially from like decentralized leadership and getting all that out.
Especially planning 4 different objectives, 4 T's, sorry, let's add a 0 to that. 40 objectives. A school is not an individual. Well, I take that back. I mean, most of the school shootings other than Columbine have actually been individuals.
Yeah.
Looking at it tactically, though, I would look at it as more than a single person.
Yeah. No, Beslin style, 3 to 5.
That's what
3
I'm
to
saying.
5 individuals.
So there's the planning, coordination, communication, leadership, infrastructure, and architecture. The umbrella over the top of that. I'm not saying it's impossible to hide, but that would
it's
be
difficult.
That would be tough
for sure. And going back to it would definitely be tough. There's definitely a lot of things to shuffle to, especially initiate it all right at the same time.
Yeah.
Same day. Maybe that's possible. I think once one happens, every school is going to get locked down in the States.
If there were 2 in the same day, I bet you it would be a lockdown and evacuation almost immediately.
Yes, absolutely. It should be at least.
Yeah.
It should be.
So their timing and coordination would have to be Swiss clock.
Yeah, for sure. And I was here on time. I set my watch to Zulu time, so I wasn't an hour late like some Gregs we know.
That is true. Greg Anderson cannot be on time. What is hilarious is that he started texting me after he crossed the time threshold where his clock flipped an hour 40. He was driving here from near Seattle. And he was just like, I'm sweating profusely. My anxiety is crippling. I can't believe. I'm like, dude, we're just going to sit down and have a conversation. But, of course, I'll never forget that and not hold it over his head.
100%. No, we're going to use that against you forever.
Yeah, as he deserves it. But, yeah, it's I would be surprised if that infrastructure isn't here.
Yes.
So I guess the question is, what do you do about it?
Preparedness, readiness, police involvement, police training, like actually being vigilant. That's the problem. Even the New Orleans Bourbon Street. So obviously I'm not from there originally, but I spent the last 20 years in New Orleans. I started as a New Orleans cop.
Nolans?
Yeah, Nolans. Don't say that. And don't say New Orleans either. It's New Orleans.
Okay.
Yep. I started as a New Orleans policeman, as a young guy in my early mid-20s.
Probably never arrested anybody drunk on Bourbon Street.
I didn't actually. I didn't do any of that stuff. Believe it or not, I've written 2 citations in my entire career. One was during FTO, doing field training officer phase, because I had to check that block as a rookie.
So they'd leave you alone and let you out on your own.
Exactly. And then the other one was I was basically had a target and I needed a traffic stop because I knew he was carrying weight in his car. Was when I was in narcotics, and I had to wait for him to make a traffic violation so I could have a unit stop him and write him a traffic citation because I knew he had weight in the car. So
what if he's an impeccable driver and just follows the...
And we're following him forever, dude. God. Man, he used blinker 3 seconds at the stop sign.
Never California rolls, always gives the pedestrian the right of way.
Here's a clue, they're not.
Yeah. But if you're going to be a drug dealer, probably better to be a good driver.
You should be, and you'd think like you wouldn't be smoking a joint like with the windows open. This was obviously before weed was all legal most places and stuff. And
no, you think you want to fly under the radar? If
like
you're going to operate
10
in plain
and
sight,
2, like P's and Q's, no.
Or maybe be more sophisticated and pay somebody else to drive your stuff around.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
So
how was it in New Orleans being a cop?
it was wild. It was awesome. It's funny because it kind of goes back to my origin story. So, like most kids, how old are you?
47.
Okay, so you're a year ahead of me. I'm 46. I grew up going to the Army surplus store and buying all the Vietnam era, but like soft stuff, like none of the conventional stuff, like.
Vietnam era soft stuff.
Yeah,
was
so
100% conventional stuff.
Oh, absolutely. But like back then, like if you wore tiger stripes, like that was cool.
It may have had Velcro instead of maybe a metal clip.
I don't even know if they had that back then. It was like buttons.
Yeah, that's true. The ones that have the little dot on because you have to put it on the correct direction.
Yeah.
God, those have been the bane of my existence more times than
But the short boonies, not the regular full size issue boonies, the short boonies. So like I was reading like Men with Green Faces.
Yep.
Without Remorse, a whole bunch of other books, and I wanted to be a SEAL, or I didn't know what SEALs yet were. Honestly, I didn't know because I had some like long range reconnaissance books and all this. I didn't know what SEALs were. I just knew I wanted to be one of those guys with the green and black boots that didn't blouse them and just let their pants hang, and the short little boonies, with the face paint. Those were the guys I want to be. I didn't want to be the green uniforms with the helmets and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, you got to let the leeches up your pant leg if you want to get attacked.
Of course, and that's who I wanted to be. And then a little bit fast forward, I saw the amazing documentary that you watched as well with Charlie Sheen and Michael
Navy
Bain.
SEALs, yeah.
Very like
a day by day, play by play, if you will.
I don't know, like who doesn't want to wake up drunk on the beach and then jump off a Jeep off the bridge?
I heard the cocaine budget for that movie was high.
Oh, I'm sure it was super high. Back then, I'm sure with Sheen, it was super high.
Yeah.
So I decided, I'm going to go be a Navy SEAL. And then I started reading SEAL stuff and doing all that stuff. And Stuart Smith, remember he had his like book to get fit for the SEALs.
Yep.
And come end of high school, I told my parents I don't want to go to college. I want to go in the military. I want to go do this thing called SEALs. And my parents are very proper. My dad was white collar, even though my dad grew up dirt poor. He grew up in Providence, Rhode Island, like in the slums. Worked his way up, went to a job fair and got a job at the lowest level at a foreign currency trading bank and worked his way up till he was VP one day. Worked his ass off. Mad respect for him. Not my career path. And what did my parents know? If you want to be successful, you got to go to college. Back then, this was 30 plus years ago.
Oh, that was the traditional path.
Yeah, that was a traditional path. You want to be successful, got to go to college.
Yeah, you were like an anarchist if you didn't have your trajectory lined out and your major and your student loans.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Student loans is the big thing. So my parents said, we'll take you to a recruiter, but you should go to officer recruiter, and we want you to go to college, and then you can do it. I was like, all right. I wasn't at the stage of like really bucking my parents a ton and want to make them happy and blah, blah, blah. So I went to a officer recruiter for the Navy. Told him, like probably everybody else does, I want to be a SEAL. And I went in there and he filled out all this paperwork with me and he had no idea what he was doing on recruiting duty.
What year was this?
96.
Yeah, this was before the SEAL career had launched into the modern day. I don't even know what the best description is. Spotlight.
Yeah, there was no A school for special operations operator, whatever it is now.
SOES.
Yeah.
I think it is special operator. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like you had to go to an A school and they'd filter you to the shortest A school and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And so I went to this recruiter, filled all the paperwork, and we get to the questionnaire stuff where he's like, do you have any food allergies? And I was like, yeah. He's like, what are you allergic to? I was like, I'm allergic to tree nuts. Nuts always get you, man.
Yep.
So he put that down. He was like, what? Like almonds, pecans, walnuts. Cool. Yeah, no big deal. Have you ever gone to anaphylaxis? Blah. No, I haven't. Put it down. Well, fast forward, forgot about all that. Went off to college, found a Buds Motivator program. Now there's a lot of these special operations programs, but found a Buds Motivator program. It's probably a freshman in college-ish. and got linked up with all these reserve SEALs and retired SEALs doing this Buds Motivator program 1 weekend every month. And then we'd go off and do like an evolution. We went down to Virginia Beach one year for like a week, went to Annapolis for a week, blah, blah, blah. And I'm ready to dep in. I was actually in the Buds Motivator program with Mike Murphy. So Mike Murphy and I were going through this together, parallel. He was a year ahead of me. So he depped in a year before I was getting ready to dep in. So he went and depped in. He's off. I go to dep in. I go to MEPS, and they go, wait a second. Here it says that you have an allergy to tree nuts. I'm like, yeah. Well, that's considered an allergy to common foods. It's a disqualifier. I'm like, what are we even talking about? Whoa. Well, don't worry. You can apply for a waiver. I'm like, I don't know what any of this means, right? And you know how recruiters are and all that stuff. They're super spot on, super switched on, right?
They always know what they're talking about.
Always, always. So I go back to the captain who is over our Buds Motivator program. I go, they wouldn't even like let me go even further through MEPS because they said I've got this thing in my form.
Well, where were you supposed to get the waiver from?
So we send that paperwork down to BUMED.
Yeah, okay.
So it goes down to BUMED for the waiver. Forever. It's down there for however long, I don't remember. And it comes back, and I'll never forget this when they bring back the paperwork. Big red stamp. PDQ'd.
Permanently disqualified.
Allergy to common foods. And this was before the war. So I'm like, what does that mean? It means you're disqualified, like permanently. Like
how about this allergy? If you eat one, are you talking like throat closing up?
Well, a little bit.
Not like,
but like
I don't want you to test this.
Yeah, I don't need an EpiPen.
Okay.
I don't need an EpiPen. Like, I'm fine. I take some Benadryl. I get real sick. I throw up. I feel miserable.
How long does that cycle take?
It's like a meth head.
Like 24 hours?
No, like the second, like it's the second.
To
a
feel
few
better
hours.
again.
A few hours. Yeah, a few hours. Yeah, it's not too bad.
That doesn't sound too
And
good.
no, it's not great. It sucks. But I've kind of grown out of it now. So fortunately.
Meaning you can tolerate tree nuts a little bit?
Certain, yeah, walnuts I'm not even allergic to anymore. And I found that out in a really inconvenient place, but I was like, thank God. I found that out on a ship in the Gulf of Aden doing anti-piracy work.
Yeah, that's not the place to have that reaction.
Yeah, no.
You just
And the chef threw walnuts in, get this, chicken quesadillas. We're chowing down.
Ingredient.
Yeah, we're chowing down chicken quesadillas, and we're starving. And I'm like, this chicken's kind of overcooked and crunchy. I'm like, it doesn't taste like chicken. I open it up and there's walnuts in the chicken quesadilla.
Did you at least have an EpiPen on you?
No, fuck that. Why would I do that? Something like that?
Because you don't want to die, Greg. That's the answer to that.
Fair enough.
All right,
fair
so
enough.
PDQ'd.
PDQ'd. So, so fast forward, I meet a bunch of guys, a bunch of soft guys, different branches, different soft guys through all this. And I'm going to school at Rutgers University in New Jersey. And I end up connecting with a guy who just got out of force reconnaissance. He's about 10, 12 years older than me-ish, roughly. And we link up. And I'm there. I'm like in the pool every day, swimming, in the gym. I'm still going. I'm sending off letters to congressmen and senators. And like in my head, I'm still going. And we link up. We start training together. He's like, I'm going to help you get in. Like, I'm going to try to get you prepped. So he's doing all like the hard skill stuff with me, and he's teaching me how to land nav, and we're going off on rucks, and we're shooting together and all this stuff. We become pretty good buddies. And through all this, when it finally got determined, like, hey, you're not getting in. Like, you're not getting into the military. Then the towers happen. And I'm like, what about now? So I go down to an Army recruiter, and I go, hey, can I talk to you outside real quick? And now I'm like 22-ish. And he comes outside. I'm like, you can choose to hear this or not hear this. So here's the deal. And I fill him in. And he's like, I didn't hear anything. I'm like, roger that. So I go in.
What he means by that is when you get to this particular box on
you
your
say no.
application, you just skip it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So I go and fill all new paperwork out with the Army. I'm going in for a Army Ranger contract. And I go down to MEPS, go through MEPS, get through all the medical stuff, have the doctor look at my butthole, everything, And I get to the job classifier. And when I get to the job classifier, someone comes in the room and goes, what about this paperwork?
No way.
Yeah.
They found your Navy paperwork.
Yeah.
You were so close.
Yeah, I was so close, dude. I feel like I was right there, dude. Yeah.
You were in the tunnel and you could see the light.
Yes. Yeah. And they
That
found
sucks.
the paperwork and I got booted. So I was like, what do I do now? Like, that was literally the only thing I want to do since I was like 7 years old. They're like, go find the most dangerous city in the country and become a cop.
What horrible advice.
Yeah. Well, that's what I did. It was awesome.
Jesus.
It was actually awesome
Go
advice.
pursue. Well, yeah. I mean, go pursue an advanced degree. Change the world for the better.
Yeah.
Go find the most.
Bro, you
violent-
know me. You think I'm going to change the world for better,
I'm
like
just
being a
saying
doctor?
The person giving you the advice could have swung for the fences a little bit.
Yeah.
You know,
Go win a Nobel Peace Prize.
or try to.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah. No, go
You
be
know
a cop
higher
in the
and
worst
qualified
city.
that, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah,
Go be a
so
cop.
I went become a cop down in New Orleans. And honestly, like, I don't want to say I had a chip on my shoulder. That's not the right term, but I was always wondering, like, well, what if?
Yeah.
Could I have done it?
That's super common.
What's the difference between them and me? But I'll be honest, like, I had everything that I wanted as a cop in New Orleans. I spent a very, very short amount of time on patrol and got in a lot of so hey, this is kind of funny. This is a good story. So I was groomed through the academy basically, and they said, hey, when this kid gets out of the academy, we want him to go with this FTO. This FTO was a young, jacked dude. He
All
was
natural?
Of course, all natural. All natural.
Chicken
lots
breasts,
of,
broccoli.
Lots of acai.
Yeah.
Acai and
Vitamin
and
Winstrol.
picanha. Yeah. Definitely a lot of Winnie and equipoise and, you know.
I'm not going to tell people how to live their life.
Hey,
There's just consequences to decisions.
There are. I don't judge. There are consequences to decisions for sure.
Yeah.
And so they put me with him. He was a narcotics guy forever. And he went back to FTO because he was a single dad and he could choose his shift. So now he could drop his son off and pick his son up off at school. And I get to him the first day and I'm about 20 pounds heavier. I'm a pretty jacked young dude. And he looks at me and he's like, all right. He's like, hey, I'm like, what do you need me to do? What do we need to do? Like, do you want me to put us 10-8? Put it in 10-8. It means we're ready for duty.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, no. Call dispatch. Tell them we're at the station doing vehicle maintenance. I'm like, okay. Yeah, dispatch is 11:23. We're at the station for vehicle maintenance. I'm like, what's wrong with the vehicle? What do we need to do? He's like, nothing. We're going hunting, dude. He's like, here's the deal. We
Is
get
this
in the car.
movie Training Day?
Yeah, you think? Yeah, right. So anyway, we're in this El Camino and it's low
Denzel
riding.
Washington.
And he passes me a joint, but it's actually laced. So we get in the car and he pulls up the computer and he goes, see all those calls that are holding for, those are like, and there's like burglary reports from the night before and a little minor car accident. He's like, if you go 10-8, they're going to give you one of those
still gotta
reports.
clear all that stuff.
You're going to clear. So we're going to let all the slugs clear it. And we go into the hood and literally day one out the gate, he basically forces me into a foot chase into a fight. And he's like, all right, you're okay, Lapin. We're good.
I don't know if you'd find that in any doctrinal manuals.
No. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, New Orleans, one of the great things that was about New Orleans is it was about as unconventional and lawless as you could get. So you could really do your work as a job. And it was super dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I truly don't remember one shift that I worked where I wasn't involved in a foot chase, car chase, fight, responding to a shooting, involved in a shooting in some form of fashion, whether it was actually me or someone else. We would respond to shootings in the city probably almost every night.
Yeah.
And we would respond to officer-involved shootings once a week, once every 2 weeks. It was wild. So I got a ton of experience, worked in narcotics, worked undercover, worked in what's called the Criminal Intelligence Bureau, working confidential informants, got to go to a bunch of schools that were run by CIA guys to learn about, basically surveillance, counter surveillance, working informants, cultivating informants, you name it, and then did SWAT stuff and then went off and contracted for a while and then came back and finished up as a full-time SWAT guy.
Had you already found jiu-jitsu when you were foot chasing and fighting with people, or
That's
was that
what-
your lever that
That was my catalyst, bro. That was my catalyst. It's like I was a young, strong, tough guy, and I kind of I had a bunch of boxing experience there. I had a bunch of boxing experience growing up. I played ice hockey since I was 4, so I fought a lot.
Which is
kind
just
of
boxing on
which is just
skates.
boxing on skates. Yeah, exactly.
Which is actually, I've been to
Even as kids, dude.
I've been to a couple live hockey games. You want to talk about impressive? Just don't watch any of the hockey. Just stare at their feet.
Yeah,
Holy
massiff.
cow.
Watch the way the skates.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And then, hey, let's rip off our jerseys and just start fighting.
just whack. We're just gonna eat them, dude. We're just gonna both just eat punches.
It's sometime between thinking about getting my jersey over my head and having it all, I'd be flat on my back. I would just eat shit on the skates.
It's really impressive when you see a guy do nice like judo ippon or something on someone.
Yeah.
I love that.
More power to
And
it.
then the refs dive in.
How far into these street fights in uniform did you realize you needed to up your grappling game?
Oh, yeah. So really not that far. So I realized that I could run dudes down because I was fast and strong. I could jump fences.
Sometimes you don't want to run dudes down.
Well,
Because
yeah.
then you got to touch them.
Exactly. You got to touch them. And I could punch dudes, but then they would punch me back.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I need to learn how to like control someone. So I found a jiu-jitsu academy in the city, started training. Like most young, strong guys, I knew everything. And the gi was stupid, right? Because we don't fight in gis.
Weren't people wearing clothing?
Clothes are gis. Guess what? Guess what, folks? Clothes are gis.
And I don't know what the weather is normally there, but I feel like there's some point in time where sweatshirts are around.
Yeah, small, but yes. I mean, there's clothes nonetheless, and I'm wearing clothes if anything else,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like, folks, train in the gi, please.
Or how about this? Just do both.
Yeah, do both,
Yeah.
right? So I focus mostly on no gi, and I would literally pressure test what I learned that day on shift that night. So I'd go out and be like, I'm going to try this. I'd chase a guy down, tackle him. I'm going to try this. Boom, get punched. Oh, that didn't work. I don't know that good enough. Run him down again, tackle him, you know. But yeah, that's when I started training jiu-jitsu.
How far into the jiu-jitsu journey did it really start making a difference in the policing?
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That little.
I feel like.
I say that little. You and I both know 6 months on the mat staring at the ceiling trying to figure out what's happening to
Yeah.
you is a long journey.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how many ceiling tiles there are. You know how many fan blades there are. You can't get out. You don't know what's happening. Yeah. The first 6 months to actually probably I'd say a couple years.
Yeah.
They're pretty rough.
Oh, dude, when I started training with the Brazilian dudes in Abu Dhabi, I would literally be driving to training, hoping I'd get into a fender bender so I didn't have to go to training. I'm not even kidding.
I have heard they have rooms over there just full of black belts. 100 dudes, black belts, all savages.
The garage. We'll talk about the garage, but yeah,
Okay.
the garage is like the secret fight club of Al Ain,
Okay.
United Arab Emirates. And it's just, it's a sea of just nothing but Brazilian black belts.
Did you find in your own experience once you started understanding grappling better that it not only made you safer, but your control of the subject as well too?
Massively. It wasn't assholes and elbows. It wasn't like a Tasmanian devil fist fight anymore. It was literally like run, chase, grab, tackle, hold.
Why does that seem to be lost on a lot of guys and gals? To this day, you still, and again, not that what you see on the internet is always reflective of the larger community, but you see some of the worst stuff of cops getting their asses handed to them, let alone like the situational awareness that got them up to that point, but not able to control even somebody that is drastically smaller than them.
I'm fortunately actually starting to see a slight shift in the right trend in the right direction. But the problem is the majority of the trainers, the majority of the post councils around the country are run by dinosaurs. And they're still teaching pain compliance. I don't believe in pain compliance. I think pain compliance is a farce.
Well, especially if you had drugs or alcohol.
And period. You're not on drugs or alcohol right now that I know of.
No.
And if I came over and I gave you a big double under hug and just held you, you probably wouldn't start like, you'd look at Michael and you'd look around and be like, all right, it's getting a little weird now. He's hugging me way too long.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be like, get, right? But if I come up and I put my arm around you, I give you a big sternal rub right away, you're going to push me away. Pain compliance creates our own fight or flight.
Yeah.
We're creating that. Whereas, she's like, she wants attention.
That's all right.
Whereas control is what wins. Control is
exactly
what
that.
wins. So learn how to control people. Don't stop pain compliance. The other thing that I love is they'll go, give me your hands, put your hands behind your back. Boom, boom, put your hands behind your back. What do you think we're going to do? I'm going to be blocking and covering and grabbing like.
Or they're laying on the person and their hands are underneath there,
right.
and they're not trying to hide them, but they physically can't put their hands
Right.
behind their back.
Hey, we're our own worst enemies, and like we create our own fight or flight. So that's when I teach cops, I stop all that stupid stuff that you've learned. Get rid of it. Forget about it. Pain compliance doesn't work. What if I'm going to use a kimura or an arm bar or some sort of joint manipulation on the street with someone, I'm not going to grab it and hold it for pain compliance. I'm going to immediately break the joint to limit your ability to fight me as effectively.
Yeah.
Period. I'm not using it for pain compliance. I'm using it to limit your capability of fighting. done. So I don't believe in pain compliance. I believe in control. Learn how to control someone.
Do you think that the groundswell is moving in the right direction?
Yes, I'm finally starting to see it. Companies like my good friend Chad Lyman, he runs C4C PJJ, Police Jiu-Jitsu, great program, and he doesn't do instructor certifications. He does level 1 through 5. He's like, you can't come to my 5-day course if you don't grapple and be an instructor after 5 days. Sorry. So if you're brand new, you get a level 1 cert. Someone like you'd go through that course and be like, oh, all right, you know how to grapple, you know how to fight. You're going to be at level 5, and now you can teach, right?
Except I'm not teaching. People ask me jiu-jitsu questions. I'm like, I'm not a coach, man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but you have a innate anecdotal knowledge of technique.
Sometimes people ask me stuff, and I say, you need to send me a YouTube video because I don't even understand the words that came out of your mouth.
Same thing. Don't ask me about 50-50 guard.
Yeah.
Don't ask me about 50-50 guard right now.
Or the Japanese stuff. My response is,
what do you don't know inside Senkaku?
No.
I don't know. I don't know.
Is there an English version of what you just asked me? Because I don't understand it.
No, I don't understand that either. Yeah, I don't use Japanese words. I teach a lot of judo at my academy, and I do know some of the Japanese judo terms for it.
I don't know what an uchimata is.
Yeah,
That's
uchimata, osotogari.
Yeah.
Drop seanagi.
I can count to 10 in Japanese. I mean, that's kind of the limit. Ichi ni sanshi go. You got to go.
Oh, well, look at you. Yeah.
I'm well traveled.
It's very, very sophisticated. You said people like this?
That's their least favorite noise.
All right, there you go. There you go, folks, for you.
How all the stuff that you did in law enforcement, when did you decide to leave?
So I took a brief hiatus. I didn't like seeing where things were going. I was involved in a shooting in 2009. That was a good shoot. Bad guy with gun. Bad guy with Glock 26 with a 30-round magazine.
Yes.
Spare, yeah. and this is a note. I think that 30-round magazine is probably, I don't want to say it saved my life, but it kept it from being a more long, drawn-out gunfight.
Did it not function appropriately?
So at some point during the engagement process, which went about a city block and a half, he had a malfunction. Unbeknownst to me, it was dark. It was 3 a.m.
Yeah.
But when we recovered the gun, it had a malfunction.
I wonder if you got to have such a powerful spring inside of that 30-round magazine.
Well, I think what happens is when you don't have an actual base plate on the base of the magazines, if you push a ton of pressure into the gun and the magazine,
especially if it's plastic on the bottom.
Exactly, and the magazine can get pushed up into that magazine well. It can impede the slide from cycling, and vice versa. I think with that mag sticking out, if it gets pulled on. But actually, and I only know this because we get autopsy reports as cops, right? We get to look at the autopsy reports. One round took his pinky off, left a groove in the magazine, exposed magazine, railroaded up his arm, like literally a groove on the outside, and then ended up in his lung.
Really?
Because he was like this, shooting at me.
Very stable shooting position.
Yeah. Well, he was running away at that point.
That's the only way you can make that position more stable.
Right, exactly. All right. You got to invert. You got to invert the gun.
And if you want to get another few feet per second, you assist.
Oh, yeah. You curve the bullets a little bit too, right?
Let's not defy physics.
Dude, they teach that over at Damn Neck. Come on, man.
I wish. Go around the pig.
But, so I was involved in a shooting in 2009. And I took a brief hiatus and contract a little bit before that. Like I said, I was in Iraq in 2006 after another use of force, because you get in use of force, especially, I hate to say it, but as a white police officer in New Orleans, the majority of the people that you're working with are black. The majority of the people that you're interacting with from a criminal element are black. It's just the way it is. I'm not a racist. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But it becomes a racial issue, right? And then the pastors get involved in all this stuff. So I was reassigned after use of force early on in 2005, and I took a leave of absence. Instead of resigning, took a leave of absence, went overseas, contracted for a little over a year.
And they let you come right back?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do any recurrency training or anything?
Yeah, you got to come back and update your quals and all that stuff, but nothing major.
Not monumental.
Yeah, it's nothing major. And then I came back, and then in 2009, I was reassigned after that shooting, and they reassigned me to the horse stables, to the mounted unit. Not as a mounted cop. Like I couldn't go out and do cool stuff and ride a horse and be like a police cowboy. Like I was like exercising the horses and cleaning the horses and stuff. I'm like, this is BS. Am I clear? Oh yeah, it's a good shoot. Then why am I still here? Well, the optics and blah, blah. I'm like, put me back with my unit or I'm resigning.
How long did they say you were going to be in that role? Or did they even say?
They didn't say. They didn't say. And I think I weathered the storm for about 6 months. You'll get that drinking thing down someday. It'll be.
Sometimes I miss the mouth.
Hole in the lip.
You know what I mean? A little bit on the chin.
Yeah, I'm
Michael
talking
knows what
shit.
I'm
I'll
talking
probably do it. But yeah, so I had just had enough. And I saw the political climate starting to change then. And so I left and started contracting again. And then I contracted from mid 2009 till 2017, and then came back and got back on the job as a cop, but with the sheriff's office out in the new area where I lived in Louisiana. Much more rural, much more conservative.
What do they call them? A parish?
Parish. Yep,
Yeah.
parish. It's county because it's still Napoleonic law in Louisiana.
I was going to say, is that specific to Louisiana,
Yes,
the parishes?
specific to Louisiana.
So when you were contracting, that's when you were over in the Emirates, right?
Yes. Yep.
Let's go back to this Royal Guard.
Yes.
How many are there in the Royal Guard? And I ask that because I feel like everybody there is royalty to some degree in their own infrastructure.
Yes. Yeah.
So how big is this Royal Guard?
I couldn't tell you. They have units,
Big,
so
though.
it's big. Yeah, it's big because within the Emirates they have different states. So Dubai is a state, Abu Dhabi is a state.
And there's so many princes and
It's massive.
Yeah.
It's massive. Yeah. So yeah, it's a big organization. Yeah, it's a real big organization and also like a lot of places over there, they call their Royal Guard is essentially like SOCOM, if you will. That's what they kind of call it.
Do they consider it to be a federal military role, or is that a state entity?
So there's no posse comitatus over there.
Yeah.
So it's a little of both.
Okay.
Like they can work within the domestic area of the
Very
UAE.
JTF too.
Yes. Yeah. Very. Now here's what's interesting. So because everyone in the UAE, so in the UAE, only 33% of the population is actually Emirati.
That makes sense,
Yeah.
actually.
All the rest of the population is expats that they bring in to do all the work.
Yeah. Or people who have immense amount of money who want to not pay tax on it,
Right. Exactly.
which I have no issue with. Go
Mo-
live your
mostly
life.
Russians.
I
and mostly
I have a
not-
little bit more of an issue with that, but
yeah. And not making money the right way, right?
yeah.
So UAE's tribal, but everybody knows everybody. Like
That whole
everybody's
region is
related.
tribal.
Yes.
That whole region is tribal.
Yeah. And they're all related in one faction or another. They're all related. So for domestic terrorists, their domestic counterterror unit is Colombian special forces guys that are run.
Really?
Yes, that are run by American special operations guys.
Run as in they're command and controlling, or run as in they're on target?
Both. Command and control, training, and on target.
Get some.
Yeah. So because you can't tell an Emirati, okay, here's our target in Abu Dhabi. He's like, oh, that's so-and-so's cousin. I'm going to, right?
Yeah.
So to keep it insular, they have these Colombians there that are run by a friend of mine. When I was there, a friend of mine who's a former unit guy was running them. He's passed since. But yeah, running them, training them, on target with them domestically, doing counterterror stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by LMNT. LMNT. I've heard it said both ways, LMNT or LMNT. I call it Element because that has a better ring to me. What is it? Electrolytes. It is a product that is going to help you stay hydrated without dodgy ingredients or additional sugar. Electrolyte imbalances can cause headaches, cramps, fatigue, brain fog. Now, that's just kind of like my normal day, how I roll out of bed. But the biggest impact I have seen on this is when I picked up jiu-jitsu about a half a decade ago at this point. You get off the mats and you're cooked. You're soaked through your gi and slamming water. That was my initial approach. And it was ridiculous because I knew Rob Wolf and was training with him, and he's one of the co-founders. And he was talking about this stuff, but of course, as always, when people really push things or are enthusiastic about it, I generally go the other direction. So I hydrated with water. And quite frankly, I would just feel like crap for the rest of the day. Then I started drinking LMNT. Now, specifically, I use these hydration packs. Single serving, I dump it into 12 to 16 ounces of water. It took me a little bit of time to be able to have it in that low of a concentration or that low of a fluid ounces of water. One recommendation may be to maybe cut this in half to start with because it can be a little overwhelming. And I don't want to get, matrixy and say that I could, after I was consuming this product, that I could feel it coursing into my veins. But the difference in my recovery and the difference in my hydration and how I felt through the remainder of the day was unbelievable. To this day, if I go to do a jiu-jitsu session, I'm taking one of these packets right into my water post-class. Anytime I travel, we travel to Costa Rica often to do jiu-jitsu, 1 gallon Ziploc bag full of these things. They're amazing. In addition, they also came out with a ready-to-drink, RTD, if you will. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. On that note, even these satchels, they contain a good amount of magnesium. Too much magnesium will leave you with a surprise from time to time. Just remember you don't need both socks, and the sleeves can oftentimes come off of shirts if you are in a remote environment. Point being, work your way into this. If you want to give it a shot for yourself, I have the specific website right here. It is drinklmnt.com/clearedhot. You're going to get a free LMNT sample pack with any purchase at drinklmnt.com/clearedhot. You can also try their new LMNT Sparkling, which I already talked about, and they have a no-nonsense refund policy. Totally risk-free. If you don't like it, they'll refund your order, no questions asked. Very low return rate, but a very high reorder rate. Get some, try it out. I'm telling you right now, it'll change your hydration and your recovery. Let's get back into the show.
It's wild over there. It's wild.
I mean,
and not in the cool way, really.
Well, I'm thinking in my head and I'm wargaming this. That sounds like an interesting way to structure that, but we're talking essentially private, not private, but a standalone.
It's pretty private.
That's what I'm saying. Like military
it's
targeting ability, yes. Actionable ability. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh yeah. Do you remember? And this would have been 2016. I think this was about 2016. In Yemen, a couple of team guys were down in Yemen and got in some trouble. God, what was the one dude's name? He was not a team guy. He was a unit guy. Big handlebar mustache, bald.
What were they doing down there?
So
what type of trouble did these people get into?
I'm looking it up right now.
Oh God. So anyway, that's what these guys got brought in by the royal family.
The royal family sent them to Yemen. Cross-border operations.
Paid everything.
Get some.
To go literally target and assassinate Yemeni officers and stuff. And they got in a bit of trouble.
I don't know much about international law.
As you think it will. Yeah, right. I'm not a scientist. But
I am not a lawyer.
Yeah.
I got my Juris Doctorate by watching Suits.
Great show, by the way.
I found it did I find it in COVID or right after? Yeah, I think it disturbed my wife how quickly I made it through all 8 seasons.
Yeah.
We originally we said we were going to watch it together. That lasted maybe a week.
So I'm 9 episodes in, babe, and I'll catch you up.
She just was disgusted with me because I actually was well beyond 9 episodes ahead.
Yeah.
Seasons ahead. She would leave, I'd be on the couch, she would come back, and I'm sitting there. She's asking me, what did I do today? I was like, well, I'm not proud of what I'm about to say to you, but you're looking at it.
But it's if you're going to do it, it's that show. That's the show to do it.
Man, I don't think I could watch a show like that if I was waiting for the next Wednesday or whatever day it
No,
came
for
out.
sure not.
I definitely am more of, hey, this is a complete series that ran years ago and there's no more. Giddy up. Let's get some
we're
popcorn
going.
out.
We're going. Yeah, 7 hours.
Yeah. God, that structure, man.
Yeah, so they were like targeting dudes and like.
When you have that much money, I mean, what is there to stop you? That area of the world, I have not spent a lot of time in the Emirates or Dubai or Saudi Arabia. I have passed through many times and obviously operated in peripheral areas, but with that level of money, I don't know what stands in your way.
They really do whatever they want. So part of what we were doing while we were there is the Emiratis have a base at the old Mogadishu airstrip. Mm-hmm. And they are working with the current Somali president, governor, whatever they're calling them. And they have at the palace there, they have a presence at the palace. And they sent us over there with the Emiratis. So I went in and out of Mogadishu with nothing on any passport or anything on an Emirati, military flight. And then same in Yemen. Like we'd go down to Yemen with them and come back and nothing.
That level of fluidity with international borders is pretty wild.
It's wild. It's wild. And then it kind of, what ended up finally, like, there were a couple of reasons I ended up leaving in 2017.
Well, before you left, explain the garage.
Oh, yeah, the garage, dude. The garage.
I'm telling you, I've heard stories of these legendary rooms that are full of mats, and everybody in there is a black belt.
Everyone, yeah. I mean, we're talking like 40 black belts, 50 black belts.
And is it true that they will bring in like the world's best and they just stay for a year and teach? Or
Oh,
longer
yeah.
Than
I mean,
one?
Leandro Lowe was there all the time.
Damn.
Cyborg was there all the time. Buchecha was there all the time.
I saw Buchecha at Origin Camp.
Yeah. Marcus is a good dude.
I would have thought his top pressure would have been heavier.
Oh, you want me to call him real quick?
No, I don't.
I got his number. I got his number. I can call him.
That dude is a gorilla.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I asked him, he was talking about, what I'm about to say will give people insight to my soul because I'm so deeply appreciative of how he explained this. He was talking about passing and the way that he passes. And he was talking about, his English was spectacular.
Yeah. He's
not always the case when it comes to the Brazilian coaches, but if you can ask them a question and they can move you and touch you, holy shit.
Yeah.
Your learning goes through the roof. He was talking about passing, and he was talking about all these different ways that he tries to get to essentially one position, which is not on the bottom for clarity.
Right, yeah.
But he basically gets people a little bit oriented on their side, and he's putting pressure into their hip that is up.
Yep.
And he was showing how to surf back and forth, and he described it as showing them the keys to a door that they think that they can escape from. And somebody asked him, "Why don't you just pass?" And he said, "Because first you must break them."
Yes. Yeah. First you must break them.
So I was working with a partner, and he happened to be walking by, and I asked him a question, and so he demoed it on me.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah, horrible.
Anybody
Horrible.
ever to find themselves underneath that man,
Yeah.
you're just not getting out.
And
That's
then
where you live now.
Ask him about tap. He goes, if you tap them to pressure, you touch their soul.
Yeah. He literally said, "I pass after they're broken."
Yeah.
Which I so deeply appreciate.
Yes,
I heard
absolutely.
you laugh over there, Michael. Michael's a purple belt. I think you're knocking on the door of your brown belt. Having said that, I'm not a coach, and I have no idea how to rank people.
It'll never feel like it, bro. How long you been a purple belt?
Like a year and a half, I think.
I feel like it's longer than that.
Think so? I don't remember when the...
You got another year and a half, unless you're like some savant.
He's not.
Okay.
You're like the inverted savant.
Yeah.
Is that what you play? You play a lot of guard? You invert?
No.
No, he's the opposite of a savant, is what I should have said. A retard.
He was a retard.
Yes, am a retard.
Yeah.
What's your game, top or bottom?
Top.
Sure.
Besides with Andy.
I was going to say, I don't ever remember you.
Man, I wish I brought a gi for open mat. My hip's a little messed up, but I'll roll.
Yeah. Okay, so the rooms are real. People like Buchecha are over there teaching.
Yep. So
Is it just part of their... Was that more for the Royal Guard people, or is that more ingrained in their society, or like what is that?
So Sheikh Tariq, don't ask me the last name. He came and spent some time in the U.S. in the early '90s in California, and got exposed to jiu-jitsu and started
he was
training.
early.
Yeah, and started training. And he said, "My country needs this. This will change my country." And it did. It did, because I've seen the different generations. Now, in the UAE, in United Arab Emirates, in public schools, police academies, and military academies, jiu-jitsu is required physical fitness. So public schools, from like elementary, middle school, high school, several days a week, PE, physical education class, is them going to their mat room, changing into their gi, and doing jiu-jitsu. Every public school has a hired one or two multiple Brazilian jiu-jitsu Brazilian black belts. Brazilian dudes. They only really hire Brazilians. Brazilian black belts.
It's kind of racist, but
A little bit. It's, is it racist or is it country? I don't know. Anyway.
hard to say.
Yeah,
There's something wrong with
Hey,
it.
just go follow it out. Hey, boa, isso, right? And you're good, dude. You don't even know what you're saying, right? So Brazilian black belts run the PE at the public schools, at the law enforcement academies, and at the military academies.
Can you imagine that infrastructure here in the U.S.? That would be amazing.
It's crazy because you see the generation before that started to get implemented, and horrible work ethic, zero ownership, bad health, overweight, just.
I'm going to add to that too, as somebody who has not been doing this that long, and my old career was what it was. You're waiting to be a victim.
Yes, 100%, 100%. And
it
now,
sucks to say that, but
that's the truth.
If you cannot protect yourself, you are only not a victim because somebody has chosen not to victimize you.
That's it. Out of luck.
Yeah.
You're not a participant. You're just like you're viewing your own demise, right? And then the newer generations that this has been implemented in, they're fitter, they're healthier, they take ownership. They work harder, better work ethics. It's really changed everything in their society and their culture. So they implemented this in the UAE. It's full thing. There's tons and tons and tons of Brazilian black belts in the UAE living there. And in the town that I lived in, there was this one apartment complex, massive apartment complex, tons of people living in it. But it happened to house like, I don't know, a dozen or more Brazilian black belts. And they just decided to take over a massive section of the underground parking garage.
I mean, nobody's going to stop.
No one's going to stop them. And they matted the whole thing.
Was it separated by a fence or was it?
Nothing. It was just like you literally drive down the ramp and you go, oh, I'm not going to park there. There's mats and 40 dudes killing each other. Let me back up and go this way. And I'll never forget it. So I was training with Tiago Bravo, my first professor, and I was like a traveling white belt for like 7 or 8 years. While I was deploying, contracting, I just bring a gi and a black belt. Every team had jiu-jitsu guys. We'd go train down. Were you ever in the old Baghdad embassy?
I don't think so.
Which was the palace we converted before they built the new one. I know.
Palaces over there.
So anyway, we had a mat room down in the basement area, the lower level of the old Baghdad embassy. And so we would train jiu-jitsu down there and all this stuff. And so I was a traveling white belt for like 7, 8 years. So I get out to UE. I meet this guy, Tiago. I start training again with him. And it's me. It's like a 230-pound Green Beret that I work with. And it's like a 220-pound New Zealand SAS dude that I work with. And it's the 3 of us white belts. Yeah, the 3 of us white belts with like 4 or 5 Brazilian black belts. And that's our training. And just murdered. Old school Brazilian, like popping elbows like you want to learn not to get straight armbarred or shotgun armbarred? Okay, I'm just going to pop your elbow every single day for the next year. Like
there are better ways.
Punished us, like beat us up.
There's better ways.
Yes.
How's your body feeling now?
Yeah, not awesome. Not awesome. Not awesome.
Yeah.
Now
we can do better than the garage.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So we were training regularly, and I had gotten my blue belt. Tiago gave me my blue belt. And I was about 2 months into my blue belt, and we went and trained after work like we normally do. And it was late at night. I say late at night for us, for Americans, late at night. It was like 8:30. Mm-hmm. Already ate dinner. I'm putting my son to bed, and I get a phone call. And it's Tiago. I'm like, hey, everything all right, dude? Paul, Greggy, man, we're going to go train the garage, bro. And I've heard about the garage, but just like in like spatterings, right? And I was like, oh, dude, my heart sunk, my stomach. I started getting nervous, like sweating, my face. And my wife's like, what's the matter? Is everything okay? She thinks it's work related. I'm like, ready to go somewhere. I'm like, Tiago just called me. What's the matter? Is everything okay? He just invited me to go train at the garage. She's like, it's 8:30 at night. I was like, I know, but I can't say no. Like, you can't tell your professor, they invited you to the garage.
Yeah, you're going.
You're going. Like, you have to go. She's like, all right. So I'm like sick to my stomach, dude. I'm a grown ass man. I've been to war. I killed dudes. Like, and now I'm nervous about going to train jiu-jitsu, but I'm nervous. And I go get my gi and I get in my truck and he gives me the address. Don't tell anyone, bro. You don't tell anyone. And I drive over there and I pull up and I don't see his car. And so I just park and I sit. And I just sit. And I'm late now. And I just sit. I'm like, is he coming? And I see one guy get out who I know that I've trained with a few times. And I'm like, okay, here's my opportunity. I'm going to jump on it. So I get out. I'm like, George, hey, George. I remember this guy, George. And I was like, hey, Greg, what's up, bro? What's up? I was like, man, Tiago told me to come meet him here and train. Is he here? No, yeah, here, yeah, man. Go, come with me, man. You're good, bro. You're good. And I walk down the ramp into this underground garage, and we turn the corner, and sure enough, 1-inch puzzle mats on a concrete floor, puzzle mats glued onto the concrete walls of the parking garage. And I don't know how many, but a sea. I don't want to say 50 black belts. Because we're not going to say 50.
Yeah.
Right? We're not using the 50 term.
50 is a number currently that needs to be used with caution.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But it was literally a sea of black belts. Probably in a mat room that I would say 2,000 square feet of mat.
Just flow rolling.
Roughly.
Probably just flow rolling.
And they're sitting. So yeah, some are sitting. It's early, right? It just started. So some are sitting, some are rolling, some are drilling. And dude, when I tell you, like, this was the most nervous I've been in anything ever. Like, I'm more nervous than anything I've ever done from a kinetic standpoint. And I'm like, hey guys, and I'm fresh, bright blue belt. I'm like, I'm Tiago's student. He told me to come meet him here. And one guy comes up who kind of knows, oh, Greg, man, come on, let's get changed, bro. Let's roll. And so I get changed, and then Tiago walks in. He comes in late, like Brazilian style. And when I tell you for the next 2 hours, there's not even a term to explain what happened to me for the next 2 hours. There were a few guys there that didn't speak any English at all, not one word. Man, okay. There were a few guys there that wanted to help me a little bit. A few guys there that would work with me. A few guys there that wanted to make sure that they knew that I knew that they knew that I didn't belong there. And literally, like, a couple guys I rolled with, it like slap them, like literally as fast as we'd slap and bump, they would sub me with something and hurt me, dude. Hurt me. And like at 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, I ran off the mats, had to throw up in the trash can, rinse my mouth out, come back. I finish it. And when I tell you I look like I've been abused for 2 hours and just beaten, I was dead. And I've got my gi pants on and my jacket over, tied with my belt over and I'm like barely coherent. And a couple of the guys that live in the apartment go, man, good training, bro. You come back tomorrow night, bro. Tomorrow night we're going to train, bro. And I'm literally like, okay, yeah, cool. I'll see you here. Right? And I walk upstairs and I go into my truck. And I get in my truck and I don't even start it. I just sit there.
Yes.
And I call my wife and she's like, hey, how was it? I was like, yeah, it was good. I got to go back tomorrow night. That's like literally, I remember it, dude.
Probably just sleep in my car.
Yeah. I got to go back tomorrow night. She's like, what do you mean? Well, I finished training. Then they said they're training tomorrow night and invited me back. So I got to go. And like, I don't want to. Like, it was bad. It was not even fun. And I was like,
that's a rough room, man.
But if I don't go back tomorrow night, they're going to think I'm a pussy and they scared me off. And I'll never get invited again. If I go back tomorrow night and take another beating for 2 hours, at least they know I've got grit and then I'm good. And so that's what happened. So I went home, showered, like laid in bed catatonic, and did it the next night. Really the same thing, no different. Like no one was cooler with me. No one was like, oh, you're in. Yeah. It was like, but after that night, I was in. After that night, even the guys that were dicks to me the first 2 nights were like, okay, he's Tiago's student. At least he's got grit. Like
he's not acting like a bitch.
He's not acting like a bitch. Welcome back. Yeah, everyone knows I'm a blue belt. You guys are black belts, like 34, 5, 6 degree black belts. Like, I'm a blue belt. You know you're gonna
the moves you have.
Exactly. You don't know, hey, dude. I see red, bro.
You had a lot of stripes, but check out this move.
That's right. I see red, bro. I see red, and just bodies drop. But, yeah. So they know I'm a blue belt. They just wanted to see, like, do I have the mentality to weather the storm? So yeah, that's my garage story.
You know what's interesting is. Talking with Leah and her coach Travis about the introductions to jiu-jitsu in the earlier days. I'll call that, and I'm stretching the knowledge of jiu-jitsu, my personal knowledge of jiu-jitsu in the US, but I'll call that probably early 90s into the early aughts. They described it a lot like that.
Yeah.
Your first class, you just got the living shit beat out of you.
Yeah.
So my coach Travis, his brother, they went to their first jiu-jitsu class, and that night all they did was stick fight each other. They just beat the shit out of each other with sticks. I
haven't gotten that jiu-jitsu class yet.
I mean, there are so few people that would come back for a second class.
Yeah, for sure.
But what you described is, I understand the purpose and the meaning of that, and it has utility, but not in a business model.
Not in a business.
You know what I mean?
Yes, for sure, not in a business model.
And that's probably the biggest shift that I've heard people talking about is you have to make it accessible to people because 0.000 whatever would have that exposure and go,
let's do
this
this.
Is what I want to do.
Let's do this again.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing. It's like, and from a business model, and that was when I opened up my academy in Louisiana, that was something I really want to focus on. One, and I always tell us, my first priority to jiu-jitsu is stay true and real to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to water jiu-jitsu down. I'm never going to promote early. I'm never going to give stripes or belts on, oh, you made your 36th class. Here you go. You know, like.
How do you know when somebody's ready? This is something that's interesting in jiu-jitsu as well. And I think I've asked you this as well before. I ask all the black belts that are coaches, walk me through your white to black, your criteria. And I'm not asking you this because I have asked you before. What's interesting about it is every time the answers are different.
Right. So to answer your first question right off the cuff, you just know.
Yeah.
And
which is not really an answer.
Right. It's not really an answer. But I remember
but I know
asking,
what you mean.
I remember asking myself kind of late in my brown, I knew I was getting my black. Right. I knew I was getting my black. And I was already running my academy because my professor had to move away. So I was already running my academy full time, teaching full time as a brown belt. But he would come down and do all the promotions. Yeah. And I was like, how do I know when someone's ready for a degree or a belt? And I got my black belt. And then all of a sudden I just knew. Like as crazy as it sounds. So generally like my first stripe on white belts, new white belts come out. Whether you have grappling experience or not, like I don't care. You could be a high level wrestler, right? And you could be beating people with wrestling. You could be beating. I've got one guy at my academy now. He beats blue and purple belts.
Happens all the time
because he's a savage wrestler.
Wrestling is real. People
wrestling is real.
Have just never locked horns with
exactly. Wrestling is real.
Yeah.
And dude, he gives me a hard round. He gives me a hard round. But I usually don't give a first stripe on the white belt till about 4 to 6 months in. And that first stripe is, have you stood the test of time? Have you bought into this? Are you committed? Are you consistent? Or are you like dabbling once a week, once every 2 weeks? Are you consistent? You're consistent for 4 to 6 months, you're getting a degree. Because within 4 to 6 months, you've got a really good baseline of like position, base. Like you've got a pretty good idea of.
So you call it degrees?
Yeah.
Because that's dope.
Is that dope?
Degree white belt.
A fourth degree. I don't know if you know this, but what degree purple belt are you? Right?
They stopped doing stripes at the SBG. Is it on a blue belt?
They do it on blue. Past that, they don't.
I think I got a few stripes on my white belt, and I don't know your theory on this. People say you should never wash your belt. I don't believe in magic, but I do believe in staff.
I do believe in staff.
I washed my belt, and the stripes would come off.
Yeah.
And I think Travis realized I really don't.
Right, you don't care.
And so he just stopped putting them on. That was the last I got.
Yeah, and every coach, every professor, every gym's a little different. So
wash your belts, though.
Wash your belts, people, please. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And if your gi starts stinking all the time and is yellow,
wash it with a lighter.
Get rid of it and get a new one. These are perishable items, Yeah. So at white belt, 4 to 6 months in, I'm usually given one stripe. Second stripe is, am I watching you do traditional technical jiu-jitsu? So do you understand how to play guard, close guard? Do you understand how to play close guard? I'm not worried about fancy guards. Yep. You understand how to play close guard? Are you attempting to shoot triangles? Are you attempting to shoot arm bars? Do you understand some basic wrestling and takedowns? Do you understand basic passing principles? Oh, you're passing now? Okay, here's your second stripe. 3 and 4 is like that progression from white belt to blue. Like by the time I'm putting a 4th stripe on your white belt, in my opinion, you're already a blue belt.
Probational blue belt.
Yeah, you're a probational blue belt. And let's see how you're rolling with the other blue belts, right? And then when it comes time, generally speaking with me, depending on your level of athleticism and your level of commitment and your level of just capability, actual practical capability.
Which, let's be honest, does not apply equally across.
It does not.
As much as people want it to, let's just be honest.
It doesn't.
Some people are better at some things than others.
100%. We're not created equal. And as a jiu-jitsu professor, coach, whatever you want to call us, I don't like being called professor, but it is what it is. I have blue belts that can beat the shit out of other blue belts because they're just physically, but that doesn't mean that for that person and the time that they've put in their technical knowledge and capability, they're not a blue belt. So I try to treat everybody on their own optics, but that also means like you've both been on the same path for a year and a half and I give this person a blue belt and you're not a blue belt yet. I'm sorry, you're not a blue belt yet.
Yeah.
Like you don't have the capability, the technical proficiency to be a blue belt yet. So generally with me, you'll spend about a year and a half to 2 years at white.
Yeah.
Before you're blue belt. Blue belt can vary from 2 to 4 years, right? At blue belt, I start looking for, are you playing with, it's not non-traditional, but are you expanding from closed guard? Are you moving into some half guard stuff? Are you understanding some more? Are you experimenting with some more sport guards?
Some De La Hiva,
exactly. Some De La Hiva, some spider. Are you playing with different passing options? Is your passing a little more dynamic? Are you really seeking out submissions now with people on your level or a little bit lower than you? Are you moving technically to achieve a submission position, a position for submission? Then you start getting your degrees on that. Same thing. By the time you get a 4 stripe on your blue belt, you're a purple belt. My metric from there is, are you doing rounds with me where I am fighting to sub you a couple times in a round? If I'm having a hard time subbing you a couple times in a round, then you're probably a purple belt. If we're getting through a round where I may not sub you, but I've got some attempts, but you're defending them, you're a brown belt. And then if we're rolling and you're almost catching me, then or are catching, you're a black belt.
Yeah.
That's my metric. That's my metric. And
it's interesting how it's different for every coach.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And for like every white belt pretty much is going to get those 4 stripes. From there on out, it's like it's way less deliberate in the stripes, in the degrees at blue, purple, and brown.
Yeah.
And for that, like maybe blue somewhat, but then purple and brown, I look at you as a individual, and like if you're struggling with something and I say, hey, Andy, this is what I want you to work on, bro. Right now, you're kind of giving up position because it's easy to roll to your back where you're not driving through to not get swept or end up on bottom. This is what I want you to work on. If I see you overcome a personal hurdle that you've been struggling with and you persevere beyond that, okay, dude, here's a stripe for you. You just leveled up.
Yep.
You just leveled up. And that's what I look at the higher levels.
Do you stripe all the belts all the way up to black?
No. Yes and no. If they're like, boom, if I see someone like, dude, here's a degree. They do something super impressive and I'm watching them progress, here's a degree. But like even me, I got 4 stripes on my white belt, 3 on my blue, 2 on my purple, 1 or 2 on my brown, I think, before I got my black belt. But I still spent years at all those belts,
for sure.
And just the stripes, the deal. As you get further on, you give a white belt a piece of tape on their belt and they're like, this is the most amazing. Like, it doesn't matter how old they are. This is the most amazing thing ever.
It helps even more. And again, this is my anecdotal experience watching from a distance. Sometimes adults need those micro rewards. It'll actually keep people coming back because they don't think they're getting any better.
Right.
And that's very easy to do because you're getting
For sure.
smashed.
That's right. And the rising tides raises all ships. So all your training partners are getting better too. And you're like, I'm not getting better. Right. And then us as black belts, whenever we roll with them, as they're getting better, we're dialing up our rheostat. So they never feel like they're getting better with us.
I just lay out people.
I just lay out people.
There's only one thing I wish most practitioners would change when they describe jiu-jitsu with people, and that's when they say the white belt is the hardest one to get. Have you ever heard somebody say that?
I've heard that.
You know why I don't like it?
It's very cliche.
Well, it's not that it's cliche. It leads with this maybe unsaid expectation that if you walk through the door and you get your white belt, it's going to get easier.
Oh, no, it
doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It gets harder.
Yes,
it gets harder.
That's my point. Is the white belt hard to get because you have to kind of take a leap into the unknown and something you might not be comfortable with?
Sure.
Yes. Is it ever going to get easier? No. So don't set people up for that expectation.
Yeah, for sure. So I would kind of argue that little phrase statement with the white belt's not the hardest belt to get. It's
maybe the
most
uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. That's the most personally uncomfortable, nerve-wracking thing to achieve, walking through that door and getting on the mat for the first time. But dude, I got my black belt and I was like, I need to learn jiu-jitsu. I need to have a guard.
I'm still looking for any magic powers that are supposed to be associated.
I haven't
with
gotten
it.
mine either yet, bro. I just got my first degree, and
That's not what I want to hear.
I haven't gotten like the download. I haven't gotten it.
I was searching online for the return address because mine has no Harry Potter powers. And
yeah, can I send this back? Dude, if I could go back to purple belt.
You know what it comes with? Is a target on your back.
A massive target.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about targets, right? Is the target that's on my back when especially like going to other gyms, the target that's on my back doesn't say on that target, 46 years old, broken neck, broken back, torn LCL,
no, it says,
torn
come
MCL.
get some.
It says see how hard you can smash me and if you can submit me.
Yeah.
To the 230-pound wrestler, who's a blue belt, and I'm like 180-pound 46-year-old dude.
Learn the power of the word no.
Oh, I do. I have now.
Hey, bro, you want to roll?
No, I don't.
No, I don't.
No, I don't. Thank
Why
you,
not?
though.
Because I don't fucking want to.
That's right. Yes, 100%. I have finally learned the power of no.
Tomorrow.
Yes, and then next,
Yeah.
I
And you
finally
look like
learned the power of no.
A pacing lion looking like their newest
Right,
meal, and
right.
guess what? You win. You're
Yes.
better than me. You're very good looking.
You're tougher. You're smarter. I'm an idiot. Yeah, exactly.
Why'd you
sure.
go back to law enforcement? Of all the things, it seems like you left. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems like you were souring a little bit on how law enforcement was going for you. Interesting that you went back.
Yes. So I came back and I came back to the States. I was working for a local businessman, billionaire guy locally. Long story, so we don't need to get into it, but I basically got hired by him to be his personal bodyguard, head of security. Making a ton of money to live in my neighborhood, in my house. His house and business was 10 minutes from my house. I got to fly in his private jet to the Bahamas and to Vegas and this and that. And I drove a $110,000 SUV with every bit of Gucci kit and gear and that I wanted in the back and you name it. Mm-hmm. And you'd think, oh, that's the dream. Horrible.
It sounds miserable.
Miserable. It was the worst thing I'd ever done. I was absolutely miserable. I was drinking a ton. I was not happy. I was not happy with work. I was not happy with myself. And I was gone in the UAE for 4 years straight. I lived over there for 4 years straight. In Louisiana Post has a 5-year post limit for your law enforcement creds. So I went to a buddy who I know with a smaller department. And I said, hey, dude, can I get on with you as a reserve? I want to keep my creds so I can carry guns, do all this stuff. He's like, yeah, absolutely. So I got all my creds back up to date. And, excuse me. There we go. Got all my creds back up to date. And they're like, hey, do you want to like be on the SWAT team? And I was like, no, I don't. That sounds horrible. Well, how about just come out and train us? I was like, all right, I can do that. So I'd go out and that would be my hours. So rather than like reserves, most reserves go work parades.
Yeah.
They work football games.
What do they call them here, Michael? The posse? Kind of the same thing?
Sheriff's posse?
Yeah, we have like a sheriff's posse. They're
Yeah.
not even actually badged though.
So in Utah, that's a little different. So in Utah too, same thing. We have we have a posse, which like if there's a girl missing in the woods,
Yeah.
the posse will go and do the search, get on horseback,
I think
all
they do
that
that,
stuff.
but they also augment the law enforcement as well, but they're not badged.
So are they
it's-
armed?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And I don't know if there is a reserve program here in Montana, but I feel like, and again, I'm wildly speculating here, I feel like some people will use the posse as their first step towards trying to get those credentials.
Okay, gotcha.
For people who don't know, a law enforcement credential, it trumps all concealed carry laws in
yeah.
every state. So
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
carry in all 50.
HR 218.
Yeah. Well, that's more for people who are retired, you lucky bastard, if you still have your creds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So the LEOSA Act, right?
Yeah.
LEOSA Act, the Law Enforcement Officer Safety Act.
Yeah. And there's an immense value to actually having either active or retired police creds because you can
carry a gun anywhere.
Anywhere. Yeah.
Anywhere. So I got on the reserve, started doing my hours to keep my reserve status, was training officers, doing firearms classes, combatives classes, stuff like that, CQB stuff. And I was like, all right, this is cool. And then the sheriff's office, this was for a small department. Then the sheriff's office, I knew the commander of the SWAT team. And he was like, dude, why don't you leave over there and come over and get your creds with us? And we'll utilize you more. We got bigger budget. We're doing cool stuff. I was like, all right, yeah, that sounds good. So I transitioned over from a small police department over to the sheriff's office. And then I was like, okay, this is cool. I'm back with the boys. Good team, real progressive leader.
Don't they have a little bit more authorities as well?
Massive, more authorities with the sheriff's office. A fairly large, it was actually the parish that I worked in was the third largest parish in Louisiana. So massive size demographically. But full-time element to the team, good budget, good leadership, explosive breaching capability, night vision, helicopter, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. So we had a pretty legit team. So I got on with them, started doing some training. They're like, dude, you need to be on this team. I was like, all right, cool, yeah. So that's why I started doing that again. And then I had some contacts. I reached out to some contacts of mine up at HRT, guys that I knew just from contracting overseas and stuff. And so then my team was going up to Quantico, training with HRT twice a year. HRT was coming down using us and using some of our areas for targets and stuff like that. So we had a lot of SWAT teams, especially like little podunk areas. It's BS. It's like collateral duty. It's a metro thing where there's 2s and 3s from all these different agencies. And let's be honest, they're not prepped for the job that they're asked to do.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the bigger teams are actually
teams,
have legit.
And for people listening, HRT is essentially, it's the hostage rescue team. I'm going to call it the FBI's SWAT team, crisis response team.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously FBI has SWAT teams and regional SWAT teams, which are HRT is like
more of a national team.
It's a national counterterror and hostage rescue asset. And I mean, I don't know if you've worked with them a bunch.
Peripherally.
But, okay.
Yeah.
Pretty impressed, and I've worked with your old organization, and I've worked with the unit, and I've worked with the CRIF out of when it was the CRIF, the SIF company. Lily Pad wants some attention.
I'm always down to give attention to those men.
Dude, she's such a sweetheart, man.
They are good judges of character.
Massive. I don't know why she likes you, but
Well, you can always fool somebody once. Fool me twice.
That's
All
right.
So you're back working with the people you wanted to work with. How does this end up with you with a gun in your mouth? And when did that occur in this story arc?
Yeah, so I was going through, a lot of couples, right? I've been married now almost 17 years, right? So like a lot of things, marriages have issues, right? And couples have issues.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Honestly, I don't want to say the large majority of it stemmed from me. I want to say all of it was stemmed from me. It was all my issues and my fault. I was very, very angry. I did not feel like I was being utilized. I lost my identity. I lost kind of my identity, and even though the SWAT team stuff was cool, it was not satiating what I was doing overseas, what I had been doing overseas as a contractor. And now I'm living in this Leave It to Beaver neighborhood. Neighbors, hey, can I borrow a stick of butter and all this stuff?
Michael, do you understand the reference of Leave It to Beaver?
No.
Fuck.
No?
That's why I always ask him.
No, you don't? Are you serious?
Never heard
I'm
of
serious.
it. We are the last generation of people that can use that.
Oh my God.
And only with each other.
That's right. So,
The number of, most of the time when people bring up movies, I'll ask him, hey, have you heard of this? You'd be shocked at how uncultured he is.
how old are you?
25.
He's 23.
No, I'm 25.
Leave It to Beaver was like
Classic black and white TV show.
yeah, and like the most
nuclear family.
Yeah, white picket fence. Like, so I didn't have a white picket fence in my house though.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I lost my identity, and like I wasn't doing cool stuff anymore, and I wasn't with a team of super high level, individuals, and we weren't going after high level targets and doing a job where, like, especially when I was working for OGA for the NSA, other government agency, NSA, National Security Agency, blah, blah, blah. It was like the stuff we were doing really made a difference. We were collecting intel and feeding you guys targets and feeding task force targets and stuff. And it was like, we're doing good stuff, like we're really doing good stuff. So I get home. It all started when I was working that year for that businessman, and I just started falling off the rails. And I was a horrible husband. I was a horrible father. I was very, very removed. I was drinking a ton. I was super angry. My wife was like, you probably need to go talk to a shrink. I was like, fuck shrinks. I'm not going to see a shrink. I'm fine, blah, blah, blah. As I'm ready to flip a table and all that stuff.
Totally normal.
Yeah, totally normal. And it all kind of resulted where the main catalyst was I was at a family party at my wife's parents, at my in-laws, who I have a great relationship. I still do, surprisingly, after you hear this, and probably not. And they were hosting this party for another family, and there was a gentleman there who was not acting appropriately with some of the ladies, two of which happened to be my sister-in-laws, and my brother-in-laws do not have the capability or capacity to handle it. And
Or probably desire.
Right. And I went up and had a few words with him. And initially I was very professional, and he was not. And that didn't go over well with me. So I literally have him hanging over the second-story balcony, and I'm going to drop him on the concrete sidewalk.
So far, I love this story.
Where the party's going on. And I more or less get pulled back, and now there's 3 of them against me. And I was not drinking or anything, so I was stone sober. I was getting ready to drive back. I had to drive back to get the babysitter and take my kids. And I had made the decision all 3 of them needed to die, and that I was going to be the one to kill them. And I said, look, out of respect for you, to my wife and your parents, I'm going in the back bedroom and I'm going to set my alarm for 10 minutes. And I had my gun on me and everything, and I pulled up my timer on my iPhone. I sat down in the armchair in my in-laws' bedroom, master bedroom. I said, I'm setting my alarm for 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes to go out there and explain to these 3 motherfuckers how fucking dangerous I am. Because in 10 minutes when my alarm goes off, I'm going back out there. And if they're still here, I'm going to kill them. Not beat them up, not fight them. I'm just going to murder them. And I just sat there, literally just like that.
How was that message received?
She went out there. She went out. She knew like that was not the time. She left the room, went out there, came back before the alarm went off and said, they're gone. They're not coming back. I said, okay, thank you. I went out very, very quietly, very somberly. I apologized to my in-laws. I apologized to my wife. Said, I'm going to go home and get the kids. And that's essentially what I proceeded to do. And after that, everyone was like, you need to go see someone. Because at that moment, it felt very logical that that's what should have happened. Like those 3 should not have lived. And I was going to be the one to do it. Obviously, now looking back, like it may have been a little bit of an overreaction.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I was in my life. So started seeing a shrink. Shrink helped quite a bit.
Man or woman?
Man. Rock star. I still talk to him to this day. Dude is an absolute rock star of a shrink, and he definitely he goes, look, I don't know what you did. I can't put myself in your shoes. He's like, you're a subject matter expert in certain things. You know what I'm a subject matter expert in? The brain. I know how the brain works, right? And I just hit the believe button on him, and he really, really helped me. Took a hiatus from seeing him and kind of went down the rabbit hole again, had some marital issues with the wife. Again, all my doing, she's a rock star. The only reason I'm even still married is because my wife is a freaking rock star stud. Like she really is. That's the only reason. It's not my doing, it's her doing. And moved out, was living in my jiu-jitsu academy, living in the back. I have like a instructor room / office with a pull-out couch. So I'm living in the, ma'am, here.
She can go in a sniffari.
You want to go on a sniffari? She's like tilting her head at me. Plots. She's very restless today. And so I'm sitting in this back bedroom of my jiu-jitsu academy, and I'm just miserable. I'm hating life, and I'm ruining everyone else's life. It's all me. It's all my fault.
This is what you're telling yourself.
Yeah. I'm ruining my wife's life. I'm being a bad father for my children. I'm not being good for my jiu-jitsu team. I'm not good for my SWAT guys. Like, it's all me. Like, it's just better if I'm not around. Well, what am I going to do? So I'm sitting there with my Glock on the table and a bottle of Jameson every night going, this is probably the way out. This is the way out. And I come to the determination, well, I can't kill myself in my jiu-jitsu academy because I don't want my team to find me the next morning when they come in for morning class. And then I go, well, I don't want my loved ones to know that I killed myself, that I shot myself in the head. So it was my birthday. It was November 8th. I said that. Now people are going to know my birthday.
It's okay.
Yeah, it was November 8th. It was my birthday. And I was driving to Camp Beauregard, where the U.S. Marshals SOG team operates out of. And I was going to do a ballistic shield demonstration for them. And it was my birthday. And I'm driving there. And I had not gotten a morning phone call, happy birthday message from my wife or my kids, thinking they were already up. What I didn't realize is they were off of school for vacation, so everyone was sleeping late. But I thought they were up and operating, and no one called me. Mm-hmm. And I'm driving down this one lane, each direction, country road with 20-foot culverts on each side in the middle of the country. Farmhouses way, 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 way off. It's pretty fast road, 60, 70 miles an hour, no traffic. And I took my gun out of my IWB waistband in the holster, but put it in my center console so I'm not driving for hours with it. And I look down on it and I'm looking around and go, this is the place. Because I can shoot myself while I'm driving 60, 70 miles an hour. I'm not going to hurt anybody else. I'm not going to crash into any other traffic. I'm not going to crash into any houses because of the culverts. And then my wife can just tell everyone I was in a car accident. I'm like, this is the place. This is what I'm going to do. And I reached down and was getting ready, and on my screen, phone starts ringing with a very, very close friend. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. And I put it down, and I just fucking lost it, dude. I broke into tears, dude. Bawling tears driving. And they're like, what the fuck is going on? And I was like, are you ready? Yeah, I fucking lost it, dude.
If that call hadn't come in, do you think you would have done it?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if I've always said suicide is the coward's way out. I've lost more friends, probably much like you. I've lost more friends to suicide than I have to like gunfight, shootings, car crashes, combat related stuff.
Point,
And there was a weird progression where I was like, I don't understand it. Why would you do that? To, I kind of get it. To, I see why he did that now. To, I understand it. It'll never be me. To, this might be what I need to do. To, yeah, this is the right idea. Right. And like how that progression happened, I couldn't even tell you, dude.
Well, what was your perspective on time as you were driving towards that decision? Like when you're driving on the road, thinking about taking that action, I'm assuming you're not thinking about a week, a month, a year from now. You're just in the moment.
I'm just in the moment. And you're not thinking about the repercussions that it has longingly, lastingly.
It's like
forever.
Dropping a rock in the water and just watching the rings.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever. And you didn't think about that. And honestly, I think that moment was probably one of the best things that happened to me because I was so close. I was so on the verge. And when I didn't do it, everything, boom, like a movie, like everything kind of came back. All that time that you're talking about, like everything just like swooped back in, like, holy shit, my kids, my family, my loved ones, my friends, my gym, my students, this, that. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know? And I think drinking probably a handle of Jameson by myself a week, less than a week, honestly, was probably not that mentally healthy for me.
You could probably remove probably.
Yeah, exactly. No probably about it, right?
It is a central nervous system depressant.
Massively. Yeah. So
for a lot of people, it's a social lubricant, and they have a little bit of an up, but in massive levels, or even for some people, small levels, it's a huge driving force.
Yeah.
A lot of the people I know that have made the choice to end their life, it was a combination of, I think, the stories they were telling themselves, where they were, their opting on time, but alcohol was almost always involved.
Absolutely. No, 100%. And, you know, for me, a big part of it was I was not living authentically because I kept this pretty insulated. A lot of people knew I was struggling. Mm-hmm. They just thought I was angry. And I kept it pretty insulated because I still trained. I still worked out. Like I didn't get just, I was still on the mats every single day, still teaching, still working out. And I could put on that mask and do that, and then I just tank. So nobody else around me knew what was going on really, other than, oh, Greg's off. Greg's maybe angry. Maybe he's a little depressed, blah, blah, blah. And it was not good. But that one incident kind of brought it all, I think, to a close. And quite honestly, I can't say that the thoughts never crossed my mind again, but not in that manner. And we're talking a while ago.
Yeah, I've never been suicidal. I think about suicide, not meaning the action of me killing myself.
Right.
The concept of suicide. I think about the concept of suicide. I don't want to say often, but it's also like not infrequent.
Right.
It's just.
Well, I think it's in unfortunately, it's in our lives. It's in our circle. It's in our industry. So like, how long is it going to go till we hear about one of our buddies has killed themselves from like right now, today, you know? Like
probably measured in months if we're lucky.
Yes, if we're lucky.
When I think about it too, I was going to use the term mask as well because I think that's what it is. I mean, if you're able to talk about openly now that position that you were in, can you even fathom how many people that are out there surrounded by us, that we are surrounded by in daily life, that are still wearing that mask and don't know what to do with it?
Well,
that's part of I think that's part of the reason why I think about it too. It actually, for me, it unwraps. Like when you see people doing stupid shit, one of the first things I ask myself now is, I wonder what's actually going on in their life.
100%. And I'll tell you, so that day, that was my birthday 2 years ago. probably until a year ago, I wouldn't have talked about this. I wouldn't have talked about this. I couldn't admit to myself that I was actually going to do that. I couldn't admit to myself. I felt so weak. I literally I'm going to break down here.
Pussy.
I know, right? Fucking pussy. Pussy. I couldn't admit to myself that I was going to do that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, how fucking cowardice, how weak. Like, what? That's not me. Who am I?
But that's part of the problem.
That is part of the problem.
The way that we talk to ourselves, and specifically with that language.
100%.
And men, scientifically proven, idiots.
Yes, we're dumb.
Slow to mature.
Ladies are smarter than we are. 100%.
Slow to mature. And seemingly out of the box, largely incapable of asking for help.
100%. And I remember going into, we had like a little half bath. I was back in my house, and I don't think I was living there yet, but I think I was like visiting. I was back in my house, and I went into the back little bathroom, and I called up a buddy of mine who's been like a big help to me, and he had been suicidal for a while and had worked through it. And I called him up, and when he picked up and said, "Hey dude, what's up?" I literally fell on the floor and lost it and started crying. And I couldn't get it out. I was trying. I was like, dude, I was going to kill myself. And when I admitted it out loud, I like lost it. And what I realized is like now, like you said, people are wearing a mask. How many other people are out there going, why are they, that person used to hang out on the mat after class and sit and BS with us for a while.
Jovial, laughing.
Why are they just grabbing their stuff and going? What else is underneath there? And now it's like you said, fucking pussy, right? Because that's all we would think. Like before I was 40 years old, dude, I didn't cry. I didn't talk about emotion. I didn't tell my friends, my male friends, that I love them. That was faggot shit, like pardon the language, but like I didn't do that. The hug was the hug with the bro pat on the back. It wasn't like an actual endearing, embracing hug. And that, going back to like the very beginning when we were talking, is like, are you comfortable in your skin? And I say this very facetiously because we all know really, really tough, bad motherfuckers, right? I don't think I'm one of them.
Nor do I.
But at the same point, we know our capability, our skill set, what we've done. Like, when it comes down to it, if you line 10 dudes up, like, we're bad motherfuckers.
I was just going to let you handle it. And snacks.
That's right.
Michael will get a video camera out. I'll eat snacks.
There you go. There you go. But, the reality, when it comes down to it, like, we both know we're capable, tough humans. We are. That is what it is.
Everybody has their breaking point, though.
Everybody has their breaking point. And what I've realized is that me being vulnerable, and my therapist said this, without being vulnerable, there's no growth.
I would agree with that.
Without being vulnerable, there's no growth. Without being vulnerable of walking into that jiu-jitsu academy on day one to get your white belt and being vulnerable, especially as a tough alpha male, then you're not going to grow in jiu-jitsu. Like without being vulnerable, asking, hey, tell me about social media and marketing. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But that's a vulnerability, right? Being and talking in front of crowds. You do a lot of speaking engagements in front of large crowds. That's a vulnerability. You're being vulnerable.
It's a vulnerable, but it's a skill.
But it's a skill.
Same thing as asking for help or being more communicative or asking questions. You learn how to do it.
That's right. But you've got to be vulnerable to start gaining that skill and growing.
Take the first path.
That's right.
Take the first step on the
That's
path.
right. And so without being vulnerable, and my therapist, without being vulnerable, there's no growth. And I just started to realize, like, being vulnerable, being passionate, being emotional, which in whatever degree you want to, I'm passionate about jiu-jitsu and fighting other men, but I'm also passionate about my friends and the people that I love, right? It doesn't quantify you as a pussy. It doesn't take away.
It's kind of the exact opposite.
It's the exact opposite, right? It actually makes you stronger. And, a friend of mine does a lot of speaking. He studied for the last 20 years, PTS, depression for primarily first responders, not military, because there's a lot of programs for the military, but not so much first responders. And so he focuses more on first responders, and he does these huge speaking engagements, and he gets in front of this crowd, and it's all like big, tough firemen or cops or whatever, and lots of mustaches. And he goes, who here thinks being vulnerable is a sign of weakness? And no one raises their hands. And he goes, see? you're all so scared of being vulnerable. None of you will even raise your hands, right? None of you will even raise your hands.
Yeah.
Come on, tell me. And a whole bunch of them raise their hands. All right, good. Who here thinks me being up on this stage, speaking in front of 500 of you right now, is me being vulnerable? And then they all raise their hands and go, who here thinks I'm weak? And if you think I'm weak, I'll fucking fight you in the parking lot.
That's a strong opening to a speech.
Right? And that's how he opens his
We call
speech.
that the hook.
Right, exactly. And that's how he starts. But it's like, it's true. It doesn't change who we are.
Yeah.
It doesn't change my skill set. I can be vulnerable. I can cry with you. I can hug you. I can laugh with you. I can be happy with you, sad with you. I can console you. I can give you a hard time if that's what you need, tough love, because that's what we should do as humans, for one. But I think men need that more. Women do that.
Yeah.
Women do that kind of almost innately. They're more maternal.
Yeah, they're largely, obviously not everybody.
Of course,
more
of course.
social. You know?
Yeah.
Speaking of women, how did you tell your wife about that day in the vehicle?
It was pretty much that same moment that I called my buddy, and she was there standing outside the bathroom. And yeah, that was rough. That was rough.
How'd she take it?
Not good. She lost it as well. She knew, she knew very largely that I was trending that way and not well, but she didn't know it was that difficult, that much, that close. So.
Are you guys able to talk about that experience pretty openly now?
Yeah. So we that's the one good thing is our communication is amazing. Our communication's always been really good, and I talk about it. If someone wants to talk about it, someone wants to listen, someone has questions, I've got to be 100% transparent now. I've got to be. I can't hide from it. I can't beat around the bush. I've got to be 100% transparent. Because one, it's good for me and healthy for me, but it may help that person.
Yeah.
It may help that person. So we talk about it. I still see my therapist. We see my therapist together as well. And people want to talk about it. People want to ask, hey, ask me questions. Ask away. Let's go. You want to dive deep? Let's dive deep, And you want to talk about jiu-jitsu? Cool. You want to talk about being suicidal? That's cool too. We can talk about it. So going back to, am I comfortable in my skin now? Yeah, I'm comfortable in my skin. I'm not. I was embarrassed by it. I was massively embarrassed by it. I'm not embarrassed by it anymore. It's a story that's as old as time with guys like us, dude.
It is.
Unfortunately.
Time.
Unfortunately.
I think one of the most powerful things about being able to talk about it openly is that other people will hear it and they will, for whatever reason, take it as their permission to either say something or do something
100%
in a positive direction.
100%. And I'll be honest, like, I think, people always talk about like finding your transition. And this is, I think, more applicable to military guys, but you don't hear, the lesser one is you don't hear about it with like law enforcement and stuff like that. The fact is, like, I'm not the guy anymore. The bat signal doesn't go up for me anymore, and I don't rush to a barricaded gunman or a hostage rescue or anything like that.
Our time of usefulness is past.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. From the perspective of there's a younger, more capable, more hungry generation, the breach is now theirs.
For sure. 100%.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And
I still want to see the bat signal and I still want to go.
Me too.
But
me too.
It's not my time.
Trust me, this thing in New Orleans,
yeah.
I was getting blown up, and all my boys were getting activated to go hunt because they thought there were more guys, and they were all hitting targets around the city.
Yeah.
And I was like, But then I thought about putting on a helmet with night vision and battery and counterbalance, and like, oh, my neck hurts.
Yeah, just do that for Halloween with your
Right?
kids.
My neck hurts with a fake airsoft
Totally.
one.
Yeah, empty tube, so it's lighter.
Exactly.
You're just looking through empty
That's
tubes.
right, just clear tube. But I think our time for usefulness is actually just beginning.
I meant from a time.
No, I knew what you mean, but like look at this. Like, how many people is this going to go out to?
No clue.
A lot. More than me sitting on a SWAT team, right?
It will touch. I get emails from people in countries that I have to take some time to find on a map. It's
what? Azure what? Yeah.
There's some stands for sure. Use caution whenever you're in a country that ends with stand, people.
Yes.
No, but it's wild. You upload to the internet, and what a weird and unbelievable world that we live in, that somebody somewhere, for whatever reason, could randomly find something. I have a folder on my laptop now that has about a dozen emails in it from people who said they didn't kill themselves because of something they heard on the podcast.
Yeah. And that's amazing. That's amazing because you're touching people that you would otherwise have no ability to touch.
I think more often than not, it wasn't me saying anything. It was the guest.
Yeah,
I
but
just-
you're the
it was-
catalyst.
It was the medium, for sure.
It's the medium. You're
I
the
was
catalyst.
in the room, but I think it was somebody else sharing about their own personal struggles.
Right.
I think the biggest lie we tell ourselves is that we're alone and nobody else would understand.
100%. And we're not.
No,
We're not.
Everybody out there, I equate it to you're looking at the top of a river that looks like it's not moving, but a couple inches underneath, you have no eye. And that's the same thing of people as well.
Yeah.
They put the mask on and like, cool, they're here, they're doing their thing, maybe a little bit off, maybe not, but underneath they're almost getting pulled under and you'd never know.
Right.
And they're not
Absolutely.
going to tell you.
No,
if
they're not
a
going to
dude.
tell you. And like for me, now, like, and this is kind of sounds again super cliche, but like my purpose or my enjoyment, what now satiates me and gives me the drive to do this every day is just being able to try to help give people the catalyst to make themselves better. Period. And if that's mentally, emotionally, physically, be a better husband, be a better father, be a better wife, be a better mother. Like, I want people to pursue personal excellence. And it's not some life coachy bullshit. Like, it's stuff that I usually honestly just share with my team on the mats. If I have the opportunity to be on a podcast or do stuff on the Fieldcraft channel or whatnot, it's like, I just want to be authentic. I don't want to manufacture what I'm doing, what I'm saying. I want to be authentic. This is my daily life. This is how I live. This is what I do. And if it helps you, cool. And if it doesn't help you, cool as well. If you think I'm some like corporate shill, cool. If you think I'm some deep state CIA implant, like, okay, cool. Like, these are all the comments that I see. But like, my goal is to like try to touch people. If there's one person listening to this going, fuck, maybe I will call my buddy and ask him for help.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Or maybe call your buddy and ask them if they're okay.
Or maybe call your buddy and ask them if they're okay. Absolutely. Yeah. And a text, don't do it on a text, folks. Call them, let them hear your voice. Use their name. Call them, like they've got to. And so for me, like, that's the main thing now. The main thing now is like, let's talk about it. Cool. What do you want to talk about? Yep, roger that. Let's go.
Yeah. What's next for you professionally?
So, living in Utah now. Been running the jiu-jitsu program for Fieldcraft.
Have you converted to Mormonism yet?
Not yet.
Give it time.
I've been trying to convince my wife to take on Extra Wise, but she's not down with it. No.
Mormons are some of the nicest people that I've ever met.
Absolutely. They drink a lot of soda.
There are some weird workarounds that they use.
Yes.
Whatever.
They drink a lot of soda.
Live your life.
Live your life.
Can't have any caffeine, but you can have some soda. Whatever.
Caffeinated soda.
Whatever.
Yeah. And again, like you said, live your life. I don't care. If you're not try to push stuff on me or change my life, then cool. We're all different, and that's okay.
Yep.
That's okay. And that's actually good. So yeah, moving into 2025, obviously, I like my life now. I train jiu-jitsu every day. I work out every day. I'm usually pretty physically healthy. Mm-hmm. I feel I'm in still pretty good shape, so I can do that. I'm really, really enjoying being a dad now. I never really enjoyed being a dad, honestly, when the kids were younger.
It gets better when they're older.
Yeah, for
One
sure.
of my favorite examples was when both of my sons came out to me and said, "Hey, Dad, can we get dirt bikes?"
Yes.
And I said, "Go say that in front of your mother, so they don't think or she doesn't think that it was my idea."
Right.
And then we went and got dirt bikes.
Yes, nice. Yeah. So yeah, same thing. So like this season, once it starts warming up, my son and we're gonna start riding dirt bikes together.
About 4 months from now.
Yeah, exactly. Once it starts warming up. But like the videos I showed you of my kids shooting, like they both got their own pistols for their birthdays. I've got them full gunfighter belts, proper holsters, mag pouches, dump pouches. So they've got all the gear, all the kit they need. Getting them to teach them some of that stuff. Obviously, they're on the match. They've both been trained since they were 5 years old. My son's 13 now, and the only thing that's keeping all the other adult males safe is that he's only 95 pounds. God help everybody when he puts
finds
another
his man
25,
strength,
30 pounds of muscle on
the
him.
weight and the man
Oh,
strength.
yeah. It's going to be bad for everyone because you got to watch this kid move.
Yeah.
Like, and he plays lasso guard and swings omoplatas on dudes, and like he's got a great wrestling and take. Like, you watch him move, and you're like, good Lord, he moves like a freaking black belt. He's been training and competing for 8 years.
He found his motor patterns on the mats.
Yes.
So
yeah. And then my daughter, who's 10, she's been training since she was 5. She's the mean one. She's the mean one for sure. Yeah, she's the mean one. But I'm really enjoying that. My wife, I just promoted my wife to brown belt. She's a little savage. So I'm really enjoying jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu program's growing. I am moving up in the Fieldcraft thing. Like, obviously, I've been working kind of as a 2IC to Mike at the time, and I'm moving up, taking over more, and doing more of the stuff on YouTube and all, and that is, which is not exactly what I want to be doing. I don't want to have any sort of like notoriety.
Yeah.
But if I can get stories out and information out to people, I think that's huge.
Well, messages have to be delivered by somebody.
That's right. That's right. And I'd rather be delivered, not that I'm the end all be all or the expert really of anything, but there's a lot of clowns out there that are delivering messages that they shouldn't be.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. So people can probably expect to see more of you consumer facing, Fieldcraft style. What are your goals for 2025? I'm not a huge New Year's Eve resolution person.
I'm not either.
But I do try to look at least chunk it out like Q1 and 2 and then maybe Q3 and 4 or a year.
Yeah.
What do you got anything on your major goals for 25?
So from like a personal excellence goal, I want to get my IFR rating done and completed. So I'm single engine, complex, and high performance endorsed.
Sweet.
On a single engine VFR, which is visual flight rules.
How often do you fly?
Well, now not very often with the winter and stuff.
So I'll give you, I'm not an expert in aviation by any stretch, but when I got my rating, I watched 2 different approaches. Both were successful. One took substantially longer.
Yes.
If you're going to go down that path, try to get it done in 60 days.
Okay.
Commit yourself to just
bang it out
as many times per week.
So let me ask you this.
Well, because I saw the other avenue where somebody would come in once a week.
Right.
And IFR is very knowledge-based and then practical-based.
100%.
They would spend 80% of their time trying to remember what they learned in the
Relearn.
previous lesson.
100%.
So they still will get their rating, but I would rather get it in 2 months versus 8. It'll save you time. It'll save you money. All
Absolutely.
of those things.
When I was doing my VFR just for my private license, I flew 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. Because I feel like, just like with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's currency.
It's currency. It's recency, And if I did miss a week, I'd come back and be like, oh, what was my glide slope on that?
Yeah,
What was
the seat
this?
just doesn't
And
feel the same.
It does.
You know,
Yeah,
you're
it doesn't feel the same. Yeah. And
Did I forget something?
You're like, you find like the first 5-10 minutes, you're like gripping it like crazy. And it's like, okay, relax. What about the schools that bang it out in like 8 days, 10 days? What do you think about that approach?
They are offering instrument ratings in 8 days?
Yes.
I would have to look into that.
Yeah.
That is,
I know a couple people have done it. You go away, you stay, you literally spend time all day for that day for like 8-10 days.
the knowledge-
Simulator, plane, foggles, IFR approaches, departures, stuff like that.
knowledge test is robust.
Yeah, and I'm not that smart, dude.
I'm an idiot. Trust me, I'm the dumbest person in any room I go into, which is why I had to dedicate. I just kept going and going and going. And
Do you remember what you got on your private pilot license?
Oh God,
that was a long time
ago.
ago
No,
for you.
I got my private license in 2006.
Okay, yeah. I barely passed. I got like a C+.
I mean, it's passing though.
Exactly.
I guess it would be possible. I would worry that they might meet the criteria, because what's going to happen is they're going to just front load you with information.
Right.
And they're going to, my suspicion is this, with no experience with this whatsoever, is they know what you're going to get tested on. So they're going to teach you the test. Which doesn't teach you real life IFR
for sure.
flying. You're going to get that through experience. So I would say it is possible to do it in 8 days. I would use that with extreme caution.
Yeah. And that's kind of my thing, because I think there's the whole like, oh, you're qualified, you're certified, but you don't have the experience to actually back that certification qualification up.
Having
Whereas
the certificate
over time,
just means you have a license to kill yourself.
that's right. And
That's what
every
your private pilot
airplane,
license
100%.
is. You can now go kill yourself, hopefully not others.
Yes. And every airplane will end up back on the ground.
That is correct.
Yeah. That's
some point in time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So like for a personal goal, I want to get my IFR done. I saw you're flying helicopters now, which is super cool. I did about 5 lessons in helicopters.
Very different than fixed wing.
Very different than fixed wing. It was before I did fixed wing.
Okay.
Which probably not ideal, I think, now flying fixed wing.
I think it would be easier to get your license fixed wing and take your knowledge tests there.
Yes.
Because then you can focus on just helicopters and helicopter systems.
Yes, I agree with that. And when I was flying, he made me have a number 2 pencil woven between my
light grip.
fingers so I didn't overgrip. And I could not hover for shit, dude.
It's not hard, but it's not easy.
It's definitely not easy.
It reminded me of a new technique in jiu-jitsu where at first you're like, this is trash, this will never work. And then one day you go, oh, I got it.
It clicks. Yeah.
And then you don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, so
But
that's super cool. I'm enjoying watching your journey on that, man.
that path to getting to that click can
Yes.
be a little dodgy.
Yes, for sure, especially in helicopters, because helicopters will also always end up
Everything
on the
that
ground.
goes in the air, what goes up must come down.
Yes,
We'll
pretty
leave it at
much.
that.
Yeah. I guess unless you put it into orbit, right?
I mean, it's going to come down somewhere, I feel like. Another
I
gravitational
don't know. Does it?
pull and another
Maybe
solar system.
somewhere.
Yeah. Something's going to grab onto that thing.
Yeah, fair enough. So so just keep training. Honestly, for me, staying healthy at 46, now, like injuries.
It's almost all the front optic of everything you're thinking about. It changes the way that I train, the way that I'm going to go to open mat of this and I will do my best to have the lightest, most technical roles because I have another podcast later today.
Right, exactly.
And I want to train tomorrow. And,
Yeah, and same thing. I want to be on the mats every single day.
Yeah.
And that maybe I feel good. Hey, we're training hard today. Tomorrow's a light day. Tomorrow I'm only coaching and watching. And we've got to maintain our body. And our bodies have not been super kind. We've not been super kind to our bodies.
Yeah.
It
has done well given what I've asked of it.
Yes, 100%. And I also kind of completely agree with your assessment of when I come through the finish line, I want my tires being held on by bubble gum and duct tape.
Yeah,
And I'm just like
barely going to cross the finish line.
Let's go. Let's go. So I'm not going to stop pushing. I'm doing cool things with Greg Anderson.
Yep.
We run the Guns and Geese program. We've got one going on this year, which is quite honestly one of the most cathartic things I've ever done.
Yeah.
Reigniting fires under people, teaching people how they can become a better version of themselves, all that stuff. And it's all, I know this all sounds like woo-woo health life coaching BS, but it's not. It's just people being real and genuine and trying to give their experience to other people. Keep being a good father. Try to be a good husband. I'm pretty difficult to deal with sometimes.
I've been told that about myself. I feel like I'm the most normal person I know.
Me too, dude. I'm the easiest person to get along with. Just ask me.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, spend a lot of time with Lily Pad. That chick makes me super, super happy. The reason I got her was on my journey of kind of rehealing myself mentally, emotionally. I was still kind of falling off, and I got connected with a canine service group that does that, and I got placed with her, and dude, she's been rad. She's an awesome. She's so sweet and so loving, and like she holds me accountable too, because if I want to like be depressed one day, she's literally like stomping on my chest, like dropping the ball, dropping the conch, like let's go.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, you don't have a choice, because if you don't, then she's like destroying shit. So,
I like it.
Yeah.
What do you want to close out with, man? We've been out for a couple hours.
Yeah. Dude, awesome coming up here. Obviously, we've hung out quite a bit and stuff. The coffee shop looks rad. The podcast, dude, it's nice to finally meet Michael.
Or Michelle. Yeah.
Michelle, right? With the finger up.
Yeah, whatever works.
You have a very fluid look going on right now. Curly, disheveled hair.
Yep.
Hipster glasses.
The roll on the pants.
Yeah.
Is,
Whatever.
I too am wearing Origin blue jeans.
Yeah, there you go.
That Lily tore a hole in. I got an air vent in it now.
We have been finding 2 little incisor size holes in a lot of things at our house.
Oh yeah, is Javelin getting into stuff?
Yes. And you just take it up to him and hold his mouth open and measure like, yep.
Oh, that checks out. We should start a show with Javelin and Lily, and it would be Javelin and the Fur Missile.
Yeah.
Because it goes. Everyone loves Lily. Everyone always wants to see Lily. I always have her with me when I'm doing stuff over in Utah. But just be better. 2025. I agree with you. I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. I don't believe in these 6-minute abs. I don't believe in these fad diets. Start small.
Yep.
Do the 1% better every single day. Become a better version of yourself, and just be nice. Look, on the flight out here, I was surprised. On the flight out here, the guy next to me, all the overhead compartments were full, and the guy couldn't fit one of his bags underneath the seat. The guy sitting behind us was like, hey, mine's open. Just pass it to me. I'll put it under there. He probably stole a bunch of shit out of there, but
maybe
took it out.
Heart was in the right place.
Exactly. Another guy, his phone was about to die, and he needed a charger. And someone was like, he's like, hey, excuse me, like, do you have a charger I can borrow? And this woman was like, yeah, no problem. Here you go. I was like, hey,
it's supposed to be.
That's the way it's supposed to be. Just be nice. Let's take care of each other. And then the whole counteraction of that is, if you're not being nice, we should be able to punch you in the mouth.
God, I think our world would be a better place if that was accepted.
You've heard my punch in the mouth license theory, have you?
No.
Oh, I haven't told you this? I've got the way to solve world peace and society.
What, physical consequences in the moment?
Physical consequences in the moment.
Yeah.
So every state, pretty much, you can go get a concealed carry permit.
Yeah.
Right?
Some harder than others.
Some harder than others. But you basically take a little test, right? You do a little background check. You shoot a little pew-pew. And now the state deems you ominous dominus. You're of sound body and mind to carry a firearm to defend yourself or others from grave bodily injury or death.
Yep.
right? They do the same thing now, but they issue a punch in the mouth license. So you do your background check, you do a little course, maybe a psyche value, and you tell them, here's your punch in the mouth card, which I'm deeming you of sound body and mind to go issue out physical violence
To those that need it.
To those that need it. It could be a little old lady that's being a complete bitch and an asshole to people and go, ma'am, just a little pop. Oh, you're right. It could be a big dude. Sir, wham, right?
Yeah.
That'll fix things because people be standing in the line at the grocery store getting ready to get uppity and they go, oh.
The consequences are
Who's
real.
got a punch in the mouth card here? I don't want to get hit. Boom. Tell you. That's it. TM, Greg Lapin. That's what we're going to start. 2025. Trump, you heard it here. Let's go.
Perfect ending.
That's it.
Yeah, there you go.